Here is Afridi bowling. Oh, he bowls an absolute jaffer first ball. Has he nicked it or not? It went such a long way, it was hard to tell. There was no real reaction, but they bowled one ball of that over, and England have declared, and that is the end of the Test match. Two teams shaking hands. So they've had a workout this afternoon, and England have finished on 110 for 4.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Ageas Bowl here in Southampton for the last test of this very strange summer. It's a familiar sound you can hear in the background. Don't shout at me, but it is the hover cover. It's being moved. Actually, at the moment, it's being taken off the pitch, but not very far away. We're here, of course, for the final test match between England and Pakistan. England winning this series 1-0 after that terrible game last week in which, well, there are a few overs bowled, but not much. I can see Joe Root walking out now with his cap and his blazer on. He's ready to toss for the final time in Test cricket this summer. In fact, in his case, for the last time this summer. And everyone gathered and waiting. A very strange day. So we've got clouds scudding low overhead on quite a furious wind by the look of it. But down here in our bowl, and protected by the hill that we talk about with the woods behind, it's actually rather balmy. Simon King, we have our own little environment here. We have a little microclimate at the Ageas Bowl. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, well, you're lucky because it is very, very windy out there today. So the gusts of wind, we're talking about 50 to 60 miles an hour around Southampton, and those are unusually strong winds for the time of year. But as you say, in that bowl, you may well be protected. But I still think, it will be quite blustery there today. It could well be a feature of the weather. And there are still a few showers around, actually. So you say the cover's been taken off.
We're getting one now.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, looking at the radar, there are some showers towards the southwest. So, those are going to move their way in. I think on the whole, though, the showers, as you said, the clouds moving along pretty quickly. They will move away fairly quickly as well. So there'll be brief showers, and there will be some lengthy dry spells, particularly into the afternoon. There'll be some sunny spells as well. So where that sun comes out and the wind isn't particularly strong at times, temperatures 20 to 21 degrees, it's going to feel quite warm. The prospects for Saturday and Sunday are looking much better. It's looking dry, really. No prospect really of any showers Saturday, Sunday. The winds will be lighter as well. Temperatures about 20 degrees Celsius. Again, it's days 4 and 5 where we start to pick up more showers in the forecast, particularly on Tuesday, where the strong winds will develop again, and there's a clearer, stronger signal of more persistent rain on Tuesday. So that's one thing we'll keep a close eye on.
All right, Simon, thank you very much. That was perfect timing, but it's getting soaked down here again now. But it is moving on. Thank you for that. We'll talk to you over the next few days, I'm sure. So you heard the cover going back on again there. We're getting so used to this sound here. It sort of echoes round, obviously, this empty bowl. So we haven't got any team news, I don't think. I'm just checking our information. No, nothing there as yet. Joe Root is still waiting. So is his opposite number, Azhar. We can see Chris Broad out there, the match referee, looking very smart in his suit. And the umpires are wandering past them, heading off for the dressing rooms. Jofra Archers is walking past me at the moment. It looked as if he might get a game today. The way he was loosening up and so on. He's walking alongside Chris Wokes, who's again got a smile on his face. But now, well, we mentioned the wind. These clouds, I think, are just breaking up a little, and the sun is trying to come out once again. Steve's doing a sterling job with this umbrella, keeping all our electrics, I hope, dry down here. Let's say good morning up in the commentary box, shall we? Michael Vaughan's up there with Azhar Massoud. Good morning, both.
Good morning.
Azhar, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing up there?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah, you're in the best place at the moment, I have to tell you. Michael, what are you doing if you win the toss?
Bat. Dead simple. I think both teams will be a bit unsure about the surface, but in these conditions, you've been a bowler, I guess, bowling and trying to generate any kind of atmosphere in the field. It's hard enough with no crowd, but when you've got these blustery conditions, just go back to the Ashes at Old Trafford that first day last year. England in the field, it was very similar. Didn't have a great day. I think it's it's not easy to bat in the blustery wind, but I think it's slightly easier than spending the day in the dirt. So I'd be batting.
Azhar, what are you doing? Any of your little bowling plans today?
I will bat as well because what Michael said, it's strong wind. It's not easy for the fast bowlers to running in that wind, and I think it's the best day to bat.
It's interesting because this pitch has not had a great deal of preparation, and Joe Root yesterday described it as soft when I asked about it, because of course down in this part of the world a couple of days ago it was a total washout. It was awful for those people who had spent a day around about these parts. Absolutely threw it down with rain all day, so the groundsman couldn't get on, and of course he's been trying to prepare this pitch alongside the pitch that was, well, supposedly being played on last week as well, so you can imagine how wet this pitch now got during that time, because the covers didn't stretch too far over that. So he's had a real battle to try and get a pitch ready for this match, and well, it might, I suspect under those circumstances, Michael, it might do a bit first thing.
Yeah, it may do, but you know, when you get a pitch that's I guess not had the full preparation, it will do something at the start, but you think by the end of it it could be doing all sorts. So it's like kind of assessment as a captain and as a team. You know, when would you prefer to bat? Would it be the first innings or the last innings? And generally in Test match cricket, you always kind of err on the side of batting on the first innings with its at its purest, but you'd have to play well. It'll be the kind of day whoever bats that if they bat badly, you would expect they could get bowled out quite cheaply. But if you bat well and play with discipline, you know, real kind of attritional stuff, I don't think it's the kind of day that the ball's going to be flying to the boundaries. I don't think there'll be flowing cover drives on the up. I don't think it's that kind of day. But again, if you look at Pakistan, the way they batted in the game just a few days ago when they batted first, they played with great skill. They didn't get a huge score, but it would have been a very competitive one, and it feels like that kind of score would be required once again.
Yeah, and the light is borderline again. They haven't put the floodlights on yet, but just standing down here, I don't think they would start in this, but they say they haven't got the lights on, so maybe when we get down to it, they will put the floodlights on and try and improve it a little bit. So much talk about the bad light and so on, of course, of the last game. They're packing up some of the covers now in front of me. The captains haven't retreated, so they're still waiting there. Both of them arms folded, happily in conversation with one another, just biding the time until they can have the toss, which should have taken place at 10:30, but it may be that it's just delayed a few minutes here, and we'll still get, all being well, an on-time 11 o'clock start. But then, of course, these new temporary regulations for now that have been brought in as a result of the last game, in which there is a lot of time lost today, but tomorrow looks good. Well, you can start at 10:30, which seems eminently sensible. In fact, I think 10 o'clock would have been okay, given that everybody is here. Common sense in cricket, Michael, that's a new one.
No, but it's great. I think it's a really good move, and you know, I think many of the powers that be would have been listening to both television and radio last week, and you know, we were all grumpy. You know, everyone involved in cricket last week here at the Ageers was grumpy because we wanted to see a bit more of the action. So that's a sensible move that they brought. Is that going to stay in for a long, or for just this Test match? Is that something that we might look for, you know, next summer? Well,
at the moment it's only temporary.
Right.
They're going to see how it goes. But there are lots of good things about it. But as we know, as I was saying last night on a programme, the problem is for English international cricket, Test cricket, is that people don't simply from London go to Lords or the Oval. People travel long distances. They book their train journeys in advance. They're cheaper to do it that way. If you get nailed in a rush hour train at very short notice because the game's starting half an hour early, the impact could be quite a lot actually on the cost of your day. So they've got to be careful with it. And of course you're going to have to monitor the situation the evening before. If you're going to a day of Test cricket tomorrow, you're going to need to know what time it starts. I suspect there might be quite a lot of people who'll take the view that let us turn up for an 11 o'clock start if that's the way that the traffic works. But at least the cricket will get played, and ultimately that's I suppose the most important thing. The cover's going away now. The wind's got up a bit more. The England team predominantly are still out here. We've got no idea yet of what the team may be. I did mention that maybe Jofra Archer looked like a man who might have been loosening up to play when I was watching just from this position. In fact, he's still out there now. James Anderson's having a bowl as well. Bit of news from within the bubble today. Ollie Robinson has been released, and so he's going back to play for Sussex against Middlesex at Radlett. That's where they're playing the Bob Willis Trophy. And Ben Folkes is going to be playing for Surrey against Kent. And so dear old Jack Leach remains. And I feel so sorry for him. I'm just looking for him now because he's had no cricket all year. So he remains, I suppose, as a sort of a COVID replacement at the moment. So the captains are ready, and the match referee is in the middle as well. I'm looking from this sort of long range ground position. I'm down at well, long off, I suppose, if they're batting at the other end. The toss is now scheduled for 10:40, which is 6 minutes from now. Not sure why that has to be so long.
What did you say about common sense in
Well,
cricket?
they might just have taken a step backwards. The umpires are there, the match referee is there, the captains are there.
One step forward, 2 steps back.
And yet we've got to wait. We've got to wait another 5 minutes. There are just times where you find yourself just groping for a possible explanation to some of these decisions that are made, and I'm afraid it's like groping in the dark. Occasionally, your fingers touch something, you think, oh, that's the reason, but generally, it isn't. Stuart Broad's having a look. He always likes to hover around when the toss is being made. He received a presentation today for his 500 Test wicket. He got a framed silver stump, so that was all very nice down here on the boundary edge, and he's marking his run-up out now with a tape measure. So he's going to be playing, isn't he?
Yeah, Stuart Broad's going to be playing. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if Chris Wokes is going to measure his run-up as well. I get a sense it's Jofra Archer for Sam Curran. That's my early indications from what I'm seeing in warm-ups.
That's interesting because they played Curran for the batting in the last match. That was the explicit reason given for him playing. So. Well, Archer needs a game, I suppose. So does Mark Wood need a game too, given that he was picked. There has been not a huge amount of logic to some of these selections, hasn't there? I mean, the first Test match here, whatever it was, 6 weeks ago, this is our main attack. And, of course, Mark Wood was in it, and he hasn't played since.
Yeah, it's been disappointing for Mark Wood. Look, we may get surprised, and England might finish the Test match summer with the team that pretty much started the first Test against West Indies, or that combination of Wood and Archer. That would surprise me with what I've heard in the. I just listened to Joe Root's press conference yesterday. There was a lot about Jofra Archer, which gave me the indication that he would be playing. I'm not seeing a great deal out there to suggest that Mark Wood would be playing, but you just never know. Just seeing if Chris Wokes is marking. He's helping Stuart Broad, but I don't think he's marked his run up yet. But surely he plays with his batting that he produced a couple of games ago.
Yeah, the captain's getting in position alongside Chris Broad there, whose trousers are blowing a bit, and we're just waiting. I suppose waiting for the time to tick around. Azza, what thoughts of your team today?
I think they will play the same team. Surely Fawad Alam needs another chance. After 10 years of wait, he got a duck, and now definitely he needs a chance. But I can see Shadab is bowling, so he always does that in the morning. He bowl a lot because he wants to get better. Hopefully, they're playing with the same team.
We shall find out soon enough, because normally we get these teams sent to us by internal message, but the England team hasn't yet arrived. I just wonder if Danny Rubin, who's our liaison out there, is tapping it into his phone at the moment, and I can bring you that news. But everyone's waiting out there, waiting for something to happen. It's about a minute to go until they will actually spin the coin.
Yeah, this is the kind of day, because of the wind, I would have a lot of fun with the toying cast. I'd be launching it high just to see where it ends up. I used to enjoy tossing the coin. It made me chuckle. I used to throw it as high as I could.
I think Root's a little more gentle than that, although he had a bad one last year somewhere that flew miles off the pitch.
Well, this is his day. This could be his career best. If he gets it right, it could end up in the commentary box.
What would be interesting, we'll see how high you have to be.
Oh, it's gone.
It's gone up. Right. It's very high to see how high before the wind gets it. But it looks to me as if Joe Root might have won the toss there. There's a beckoning.
I think Joe's won it.
Yeah, beckoning gesture from Chris Broad there. So Joe Root and I walk over to this robotic camera, pick up his own sanitised microphone, and he'll tell us what we're going to do, or he's going to do. Yeah, England batting first. Still no sign yet of what their team is going to be. So England have won the toss, and they're going to bat first. So the Pakistani attack, whatever it might be, will have first use of what must be quite a damp pitch because of the lack of preparation that it's had. One or two trudging off here. Mark Wood with a wave and a thumbs up, but I don't think he's playing. He's got his knee strapped up, but no, he's not playing. Wood is not playing. He's wrung his eyes out there for me with a pretend handkerchief, so he's not playing. But we're hearing that Jofra Archer is playing, and as yet I don't know who isn't. But is it no Curran? No Curran. So it's Archer for Curran, and is that the only change that we're hearing?
Obviously,
let's have a look. Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root, Pope, Buttler, Wokes, Bess, Archer, Broad and Anderson. So Chris Woakes batting at 7. And thank you, Andrew. Why do I always get the wrong one? If I get a certain WhatsApp group up, you can bet your life that teams go to the other one. Shaheen Masood, Abid Ali, Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, Asad Shafiq, Fawad Alam, Mohammad Rizwan, Yasser Shah, Mohammad Abbas, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah. So it's the same team that has played both matches so far. Chris Silverwood lugging his kit off there. The England coach, Joe Root, will make his way to come and see us in a moment. So what's the thought about that England team, Michael?
Well, it's slightly surprising when Joe Root described the selection of Sam Curran last week to shore up the batting. They won the up in a series with 1 to play, and they've gone against that. So clearly they want to give Jofra Archer a game. I think by batting first, it's a slight risk because, as you mentioned, there'll be a bit of moisture there. But I think it's the right decision to try and get a few runs on the board. I can't think it'll get better and better this week. It might play okay tomorrow, but I think by the time we get into days 3 and 4, this pitch will deteriorate. So it's a good decision to bat first, but just slightly a little bit perplexed by the reasoning last week to play Sam Curran and then not playing him this week.
Well, Joe Root's on his way here. In the sunshine now, I hasten to add. And we'll find out what he has to say, what he's going to do. Hello, Joe. I think it's the 16th time I've interviewed you in 5 weeks. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
You must be thoroughly fed up of seeing me by now. So you've won the toss, you're going to bat first.
Yeah, we are. It looks like a reasonable wicket at this time, so hopefully it performs like that. And we can get some big first innings runs. It looks like it could be quite challenging for the bowlers with the weather around and the wind as well. I know our bowlers in the past have struggled when the wind's been up, so hopefully we can take advantage of these conditions and get off to a good start.
Yeah, you said it's a bit soft yesterday. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I mean it's not rock hard, but it seems like a reasonable wicket. So now, as always in England, that first hour, that first session, we expect it to do a little bit, and we'll have to counter that very, very well, but there's no reason why we can't.
So the one change then, Jofra Archer for Sam Curran. Last week we stood here and talked about the batting needed to be strengthened, which is why Sam Curran was playing. So explain what's happened here.
Yeah, that and the fact that Jofra could have a bit of a rest as well, so he comes back in, and believe that we have got enough batting there to go and score big runs. So more responsibility on those guys to go and do that. And that's exciting. With this being the last game of the summer, everyone will want to make a real impact in this game, and hopefully we can finish well.
Just the last one. Has there been enough rotation for you? When you look back at this summer, have you seen enough of the players who have been here to form opinions on their futures?
Yeah, I mean, trying to balance out that and winning every game is always a tricky part when you're building towards something. But we've got to look after the here and now. We've got to make sure that we're winning what's right in front of us, and we're 1-0 up in this series, having already won the West Indies series as well. So I feel like we've got a really good balance of it so far. Of course, you want as much information on all the players as often as possible, but it doesn't always work out like that. And we're very lucky to have so many talented players that we've got those headaches and those decisions to have to make, and wouldn't change that for the world.
Hope we don't see you too early this morning. Joe,
Yeah,
good luck.
cheers.
Thank you for talking to us. Joe Root, England's captain. Azhar Ali is here. Hello, Azhar.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm going to apologise for the weather again. I'm running out of apologies. But anyway, not a bad toss to lose, perhaps, with your bowling attack, to bowl first.
But obviously, in England, first 2 hours are very important. We would like to utilise that. Obviously, we wanted to bat first as well. But obviously, toss is never under your control. And we'd like to start well, set the tone, and take it on from there.
Yeah, and you have to win, of course, to level this series, so you've got to play some exciting cricket.
Yeah, of course. We have to give everything what we have in this game. Much important one for us, must win. And boys are up for it.
Good. Well, good luck today, Azhar. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. I know you've got to hurry up because there's not much time. There we go. So that's the captains down here. I think we're going to take advantage of a dry slot to scurry back upstairs. And Dan Norcross, good morning to you. I'll hand things up to you for now.
Good morning, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody. I'm joined, delighted to say, by Emily Rainford Brent, who's with me.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. Let's just recap for people who are just joining us. They finally got a toss on just at 10:40. Weirdly, they'd started to toss, and then the rain scudded across. It's going to be one of those days, I think, where we're going to get sort of scattered, very brief showers because the wind is very, very strong indeed. But Jonathan Agnew was telling us that out there in the bowl itself, the wind isn't quite so strong. We see the trees buffeting everywhere. Well, England have won that toss. They've elected to bat. They've made one change. Jofra Archer has come in for Sam Curran. And a couple of things came out of the interview with Joe Root there, Ebony. One of them was that England felt that they needed the extra batting of Sam Curran, perhaps in the last game, and now in this they don't. And that they felt that Jofra Archer needed a rest. And Jofra Archer, I note that Jofra Archer will now be playing his 4th game of the summer, whereas Anderson and Broad, who between them are about 136 years old, will have played 5 games each. Do you think that there's logic in all this? Is it all making sense to you?
I think, if I'm honest, there's nothing to differentiate between the last test and this. There wasn't enough cricket, people won't be tired, etc. What I do just feel is they most probably need some extra pace up their sleeve. I thought, Sam Curran bowled well. He got the key wicket, a little bit of bounce on that wicket. But if the conditions, if the wicket isn't as lively, they might need to go to that extra pace. It does open up their batting, I feel. I think there's a little bit of additional vulnerability, especially if Pakistan gets stuck in and the conditions work for them earlier with the new ball. But I think it'll be down to that pace. There's nothing between the last 2 or 3 days that would really change it. And if they think the wicket is going to be a little bit more batter friendly, then you want someone who's got that ability in their sleeve to just get a few wickets at pace.
Well, I suppose Mark Rabrakash, who's just joined us, that was one negative to take from last week's game for England, wasn't it? I mean, there wasn't a lot of cricket played, but when they got Pakistan 7 down, they did struggle a little bit to blow that tail away. So do you think that's part of the thinking, to bring Archer back in for Curran for those type of situations?
Well, a very good morning. Yeah, I think Joe Root's got himself in a little bit of a knot here in terms of what he said about Sam Curran. I think there's no doubt that when Sam plays on a wicket that's bowler friendly, that he can bring some extra batting even though he's down at number 8. I do agree with Ebony. This wicket looks drier, whiter, and certainly more batsman friendly. England have a great opportunity here. It's a sort of toss, I think, this morning where the captain goes out and say, look, Skip, if you don't win it, don't come back. Okay. you really fancy batting first on this surface, and particularly given the strong winds that we've got today, it could be quite difficult bowling. So I think Joe just simply needs to say, look, we're picking an attack on this wicket that we believe will take 20 wickets. And so Jofra comes in because we need that point of difference. It looks a flatter, easier paced surface, and we need that extra pace. He did discuss a little bit, or touch on, Jofra's role in the side, and he spoke about short spells at high pace. That would contradict what Jofra's debut was at Lords, which I will never forget. He bowled 20 of the first 25 overs at the Pavilion End. And he bowled some long spells in New Zealand as well. So perhaps England have had to think about that, and hopefully had a chat with Jofra about that. How can we get the best out of you?
For Pakistan, they are unchanged. Any surprises there for you, Ebony? Were you expecting that?
No, look, there wasn't a huge amount to sort of criticise any players on. Of course, Fawad Alam was a standout of just not getting any runs, but he hasn't played in 10 years, and you can't really judge it on one inning. So, just going through, I thought the bowlers looked threatening. Mohammad Abbas with the ball, on that final day was still causing problems and hooping it around. I thought they really put in a good effort. Of course, for them, I think the one thing that will help them win a test is simply first innings runs, and that's the key for them. I think they've had sort of starts, Abid Ali, etc., but without Shan Masood getting that big 150 we saw in that first test, I don't think they've built the platform. So for them, I think it's more just about getting their mind around how are they going to put a score of 300, 350 or whatever they have to chase in that first innings. That's where they're going to be focusing on. But I think they've got the right players to do it. It's just about clicking.
Mark, is this another one of these good tosses to lose? I'm not quite sure, because I remember Old Trafford last year. It was the filthiest day, but it didn't really rain. It's about 60-mile-per-hour winds, but quite similar to today, where the clouds scudded across the skies. But it was very noticeable for England's bowlers on that day. It was very hard for the bowlers in their approach, because as they approached the wicket, they've been buffeted from one side to the other, and it's really affected their radar. So is this a good toss to lose, or is this actually a really good toss to win for England?
I think it's a fantastic toss to win and bat first. I think initially you look at the pitch and it looks drier, whiter and easier paced. then you look up and you see strong winds. The wind is pretty much down the ground, so from the pavilion as you walk out, it would be headed straight down the wicket. So it'd be interesting to see who gets the short straw and bowls into the wind, a 50-mile-an-hour wind. There'll be maybe one or two unhappy seamers about that, and perhaps that's where Yasser for Pakistan will have such an important role to play. I think sometimes when it's a crosswind, swing bowlers quite like it, and some bowlers, of course, they have bigger jumps into their delivery stride than others, so a crosswind can put them off balance. But to counter that, of course, famously in Perth, the Fremantle doctor came in and people could use that and swing the ball to their advantage. But here it looks as though it's coming almost straight down the pitch, so it probably wouldn't help to that degree. So the spinner bowling into the breeze and the quick bowlers bowling down breeze, the spinner has a huge part to play. And he looked like he was hitting some form in that last day. Yes, sure.
Well, I'm sort of interested by Mohammad Abbas in this situation. So, where you've got two out-and-out young quick bowlers, Ebony, they're coming with the wind, are they? And then Mohammad Abbas, who is the experienced bowler,
just holding it up and floating it in the wind.
Yeah, do you mind for an hour from the centre?
He's just a master, isn't he? Watch that last test, and he came out earlier with a newborn, was fuller, moved it around, and then he realised he had to adjust his line, and he was just so good at just dragging it back that fraction in the later spell. He will have no problems running into the wind. He might just hold it up. It might just cause a few problems. If he can get any movement with it, he will exploit the best out of that. But, he's going to be tricky. I think, especially with a little bit of overcast, first 10, 15 overs, it's going to be all about making sure that you avoid the danger of Mohammad Abbas.
Mark, last test in the bubble. How difficult is that now, the psychological aspect of that, for both sets of players? Pakistan knowing that they've got a one-day series to play, but I guess some of these players won't be playing in that. You're sort of looking at... Let's not over-egg it. It's not like, you're not in Alcatraz.
Not far off.
But it isn't the most fun that you can have as a young man in the bubble. So how much does that play, especially also for the England players here, some of whom have still got to stay here while not playing, having not played, like Jack Leach, as Jonathan Agnew was talking about, and indeed for the players who are playing, you've got to keep focused for another 5 days, and then you're released.
Yeah, I think a lot easier if you're in the team. I'm just watching Sam Curran walking forlornly towards us here, hands in pockets,
in his slippers,
and he doesn't look particularly full of the joys of life. And I think if you're playing in the game, clearly, that's a lot easier to be switched on and engrossed in the game. For those who are not playing in the game, people like Folkes, Leach, Bracey, they've been in this bubble for so long without match cricket. Of course, their teams are up and running and playing, and so I think Ben Folkes can be released relatively soon, but Leach, of course, has to stay to cover the concussion of Dominic Bess, if that
and the
was
same with Bracey as well, presumably.
And Bracey, yeah.
So I think the two that have been released are Folkes and Robinson.
Yeah.
And they will go back to their counties and play Bob Willis Trophy matches on Saturday. But for Sam Curran, he's presumably a like-for-like replacement for one of the bowlers, Bracey for one of the batsmen, and Leach also. So for them, I mean, it's not always rock and roll, is it?
Psychology, I think it's got to be hard. I have to be honest. We're not in as deep as the players are, and just having a 2 or 3 day respite has been good to just refresh the mind. And I keep thinking about them and being here so long, and then your mind's got to kind of stay focused on the here and now. And that's hard. I think that's where your leaders come in, whether it's Joe Root or Joss Butler in the changing room, who might have to say the conversation, guys, let's stay focused, one more here, and we change history, because the history here is that 10 years since England have beaten Pakistan when it comes to a test series, so that's a big milestone, and to do that you have to stay focused, because this bowling unit from Pakistan are dangerous, and if they fancy a little bit more, they're going to be a bit fresher. They haven't been here as long. I think they could cause a little upset. So, yeah, it's about the leaders really driving that focus in the team. Guys, come on, 5 more days, head down. And I know as well, I've run drinks and been 12th, maybe a few too many more times than I like in my career. It is hard, and you have to bring that energy. Sam Curran will have to bring that energy as well to keep the team unit strong. So it's a lot of hard work mentally ahead as well.
And it's a big game for a lot of players here, because sometimes forget, Ben Stokes isn't in this side and will come back into it. So I think there's intrigue, isn't there, at the top of England's order, those top 3 batsmen, and indeed with the bowlers. Chris Wokes will want to keep going with that form, because when Stokes comes back in, balance of the side changes again.
Yeah, well, we're not really sure when England's next Test match will be. The scheduling is...
Or where.
Yeah, so it's so difficult. So we were very excited watching Zach Crawley on the last day. He came out and played all authority, and he looked quite convincing. And, he's actually had some quite good partnerships with Dom Sibley, and they're a sort of pair that complement each other quite well, because Crawley is quite forthright and plays his shots and certainly looks to get on top of the bowler, and of course Sibley plays the long game that backs his concentration and his defence, and so you can see that those two might make a good pairing, and so someone like Rory Burns, who's had a very good solid start, who's played 20 tests and has become a fairly reliable opener for England. But if Ben Stokes comes back into the side, England may well have a decision to make. I mean, I like Burns and Sibley as the left-hand, right-hand partnership, but perhaps whether they complement each other quite as well, that's maybe something for England to contemplate.
Is it a tempo problem, do you think, Ebony, at the top of the order for England?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because you take us back when there was the revolving door of openers, and we would have absolutely bitten your hand off to have 2 batters with the mindset to play the long innings. I think the challenge, you watch them both sometimes, at times it feels like you just want someone to up the pace a little bit. I think Sibley is growing into his role. He's going to have to, over the winter, look at opening up some areas against spin and things like that, and he's young, he's got time. I agree with Marco there. I don't think they complement each other ideally. However, if they give England the platform, they have enough, I think, in the depth of the Ollie Popes and when Stokes is back to capitalise. So I don't want to judge too early, but I do feel it's an area that they will be conscious that as their game grows, if they want to stay in this team and stay threatening and keep their place, they're going to have to look at just increasing that.
Strains of Jerusalem are playing, but the umpires are not out just yet. Well, they're on their way out. Are we going to get an 11 o'clock start? One of the things to look out for, you will have seen the possible flexibility in cricket. If we get some rain today, and if we don't manage to get all the overs in today, we may start tomorrow at 10:30. Are you ready for such an early start? I didn't get into cricket to be at work by 10 in the morning, Ebony. I don't know about you. This wasn't part of the plan.
I think getting 10:30 is early. But
it's not right, is it? It's wrong flexibility.
What is going on? But I have to be honest, I was so relieved when I saw that. I don't know, the frustration leaving that test and you're banging your head. It's simple, right? You can get... With calculations, if you had an hour of play every day, it's 15-ish overs, 75 available a week. I'm not saying you'd use them all, but there's a lot available. So it's good to see that there's just been a little bit of a shift, because the crowds don't have to travel. You can get that extra half an hour in.
Mark, some thoughts on what we can expect to see in the first hour of play. And this, the last Test match of the summer. Can you believe it? Already we've got there. And then I shall make way for the returning Jonathan Agnew.
Well, just looking out over the field, the 2 umpires are in place, and familiar actually to see Dom Sibley walking 20 yards in front of his opening partner, which is quite an unusual thing really. Rory Burns seems to stop and do a few exercises, and Dom Sibley marches stoically on, and I guess they will decide which end they want. Of course, openers get quite picky about who's going to take the first ball. Some really want to, and others, absolutely don't want to. So I'm not quite sure how they tend to work it. But I always think it looks nicer aesthetically to see 2 opening batsmen walk out together.
Morning, you two.
Morning.
I don't think we've been in a microclimate before, but I was in one there briefly for about 10 minutes. Definitely in a microclimate, because down there on the ground, there's nothing like you see as soon as you come up onto the terrace around, with the trees are rocking and rolling all over the place and the clouds are scudding across the sky. Down there, it's actually rather balmy. It's rather nice.
Yeah, is it nice? Is it warm?
Well, I had a jumper on, but you're not blowing around. So the players, they'll look at the flags and they'll look at the trees and think, oh dear, this is going to be hard work running in, just coming virtually straight down the ground. But actually, down there on the grass, you don't really feel it. There's that the woods, of course, that we've talked about over the last few weeks, protecting, I think, and the hill that they're on. And so the wind just goes round and over the top, which is good news, and it also will keep any showers moving quickly as well. Let's hope we don't get any more rain. Really, I think we've had enough. You went to London, did you?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we had a bad day in London.
Well, I was down here, and let me tell you, the Lymington ferry, we actually only realised we were on the Isle of Wight when we hit it, I think, because you just couldn't see it. So anyway, it was all a bit blustery and very, very wet. So the groundsman really hasn't had any chance at all to do much with this pitch, which was undercover a lot, of course, during the previous test match. And then he thinks, right, I'll get them off and let's get to work. I've got 3 days to sort this out. And it rains as well. Here's the first ball of the final test match of this summer. England have won the toss. They're going to bat first. And it's Afridi, the left armour, bowling to Rory Burns. There's 4 slips there lined up and a short leg, and he lets the first ball go by outside the off stump, and it's collected by Rizwan. So 4 slips, gully. That short leg is sort of deliberately placed. It's not where you'd normally just say, well, go just to short leg and you'd stand there. It's a little bit deeper and a little bit straighter, suggesting that Burns might just get a bit of a punch on it, I suggest. And there's also a man at mid-on and mid-off. So it's an attacking field. Pakistan, of course, are 1-0 down. They have to win and just take advantage of these early conditions, despite the fact, as Azhar Ali told me, they'd have batted first. The ball will still do a bit now. And then goes Afridi, bowls outside the off-stump. And Burns, again for the second time, allows that to go by. And he'll be mindful of the fact that he got an absolute snorter from Afridi in that awful light during the last test match, a ball that really he could do nothing about. I just remember seeing the replay of it. You could see the lights of the floodlights shimmering on the ball as it went down. It looked awful. Swung, nipped. And so really couldn't criticise Burns at all for edging that one. Afridi waits for a moment. He's got number 40 on his back. And Burns, left-handed, of course, waits for him, and that squares him up a little. But there's England's first runs, guiding it carefully down to third man, and there's no one in that position. So England away with a boundary, and it was nicely controlled. He waited for the ball to come and just ran it carefully along the ground down to third man. So England away with a boundary.
Yeah, they are. Just thinking, Shaheen Afridi's seam position looking good, actually. I know, fair enough, that ball just ran away, but he's getting that shape towards the slips. Just feel a fraction straighter could cause a few problems. Just high in the top edge of that bat there. Yeah, good start. Which way is the wind, Agus? So it's behind Afridi right now.
Sort of southwest. No, I think he's bowling into it.
Okay.
And he goes striding out and bowls, and that's again squares him up. It was an appeal flag before wicket, but an apologetic one there. He raised a hand, saying, "No, sorry, I didn't really mean that." In umpire Goff's direction, he's standing at this end, and we've got Richard Illingworth back on duty at square leg, and then Richard Kettleborough is on the telly today. So that's they've worked pretty hard, these umpires, I must say, for all the flack that was directed not just towards them, but I think just generally people were cross about last week and the weather. They've been pretty full on now all the way through this summer. 4 slips, and Burns is ready as Afridi bowls. That was a good ball, but a bounce there. Flew away past the outside edge. I think he probably just took it inside. It was a little shorter than the other balls, so he had time to just take the bat out of the way. Again, it's taken by Rizwan. I think he's had his beard trimmed over his last few days. Standing there behind the stumps. Lovely keeper. Man of the match, of course, in the last game. Quite tricky finding the winner in such little game, but he did bat very well. 4 for no wicket. 1 ball to go. And Rizwan will bowl to Burns, just that boundary off it so far. In he goes and bowls to him. Did he play it that hard for me to see from that angle, because the bowler rather covered my view, but he certainly tentatively at least offered a bat in the direction of the ball. 4 for no wicket, and that's the end of the first over. And now we're going to have Mohammad Abbas, I'm sure, coming up trundling in from that far end.
I thought he would have bowled.
He's got the wind,
into
though.
the wind. Yeah, he'll take that. He might nip it around 82.
I think that's the senior pro in him. I think he said no.
No chance, youngster.
No, because it's really going at the trees. But down there, it's cut. See, ground level here at the GS Bowl, as in proper ground level, is, 20 feet above the actual ground, do you think, where the field is?
Yeah.
It's about that, isn't it? I mean, it's at least one, it may be 2 stories of the hotel looking at the way the rooms are behind it. I'd say it's probably 2 floors. So it is sunk in low. And Mohamed Abbas, he could be a torturer today on this sluggish pitch. And he's bowling to Dom Sibley. There's 3 slips and a gully, and Sibley is beaten by the first ball. Probing around that off stump. And Sibley, who I saw heading off for the golf course, actually quite late yesterday. They'd done their practice and everything. He was heading off to go and play with Ollie Pope. He played at that and missed. They are lucky having that facility right there, I must say.
The one bit of respite.
Yes.
Must have been tough. Like we say, last test, they've got to stay focused, but it's nice to have a little bit of an outlet, I think, for the players.
3 slips a gully, and that man again at short leg, a little closer perhaps, as Abbas moves in, bowls, and Sibley's away, flicking that away through mid-wicket. It's where most teams have a position for him, to be honest. They have a fielder there. And Sibley flicked it straight to where, well, the West Indies certainly had that fielder. And he picks up 3. It's a nice stroke. Didn't try and hit too hard. Just worked it away into the leg side. You can hear the wind buffeting around our microphones because we're on the 3rd floor, aren't we, here, of this hotel. So we're high up compared to where the ground is. So that's why we're picking up the wind here. But down there they're not. And Abbas is going to go round the wicket to Rory Burns. 3 slips a gully. Short leg again just in front of square. Burns pouring away at the ground with that right foot. Saw Philip Brown, our old friend the photographer, here today. It's the first test match he's been allowed to do of the summer, so I think he's got a bit of a lockdown hair crisis as well, but then he usually does. It's particularly bushy today. 7 for no wicket. And Burns is ready, left-handed. And Abbas comes scuttling in from round the wicket, almost off the wrong foot. He bowls, and that's turned away down to long leg. A chase to the fielder, bustling up. Burns wants a second. He'll get it as well. It's very good running. And had there been a crowd, you'd have heard a round of applause for that, because he did get his head down, came dashing in. So 9 for no wicket, and Burns has moved on to 6. And as usual, I mentioned the crowd, so you can listen with the crowd off, as it were. If you want to go to the BBC website, you can select natural sound, and you won't hear that little murmur that we have at the moment. It does help. It feels like it's a bit more lifelike. It'll be interesting for the one day as the T20's coming up, given that T20 cricket particularly is so all about the crowd, the entertainment, the noise. In comes Abbas with the wind, bowls outside the off stump. Even with the wind, he's barely reaching 80 miles an hour. He was 80.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's noticeable how better or more batting friendly the wicket is already. Look at that last test, and within the first few overs it was nipping around, scaring the batters. They've already nudged a couple. It's carrying through okay. No real alarms just yet.
9 for no wicket. Burns from round the wicket moves in and bowls, guided away, the diving save there in the gully. It'll be Shan Masood there, taller of the slip cordon, who I haven't seen much of since that first innings at Old Trafford. 156, 0 and 1. It's demonstrating what a great leveller this game can be. 9 for no wicket, 1 ball to go in the second over. England choosing to bat first. They're playing Archer instead of Curran, and Burns plays the last ball again from rather a squared up position. And Masood grabs the ball, Abbas grabs it and throws it on as the end of the over. 9 for no wicket, 2 overs gone. Pakistan are unchanged, so they've played the same team all the way through as the West Indies did. England trying to rotate, trying to have a look at others, and give rests and so on, but it's interesting that last week they said we're playing Sam Curran for his batting, and then this week they've left him out, and Chris Woakes is batting at number 7. So they're trying to find kind ways, I think, of saying, well, actually, we're picking him because we think he's going to bowl better.
Yeah, I think it's pace. I think this wicket looks much more batter friendly, and if you get to that situation, you need something up your sleeve. You know, it worked when it was overhead and it was swinging around three or four seamers like that, but I think they might need it possibly in that 4th innings, a little bit of extra oomph.
Afridi's going to bowl to Sibley, then still no mid-wicket. They've got the short leg for now. Almost worth putting the mid-on round to mid-wicket, I would think. I don't think it's going to drive him through there. Anyway, Afridi's on his way, bounding in outside the off-stump. Sibley has nothing to do with it. And it's collected by Rizwan. They want the close fielders, of course. But I think I'd have mid-on round, well, to that position that we've called Sibley at mid-wicket, and a little closer than your orthodox mid-wicket, because he does chip the ball there sometimes. What he mustn't do, he can't afford to do, is to get out caught down the leg side again, because he was beautifully trapped by Abbas. There's no doubt that was deliberately done in that last Test match. It was the only ball he bowled down there. We saw the map. Every ball he had bowled, there was one ball down the leg side. That was one that got him out. And the reaction too seems to suggest it was a plan. Abbas bowling, nicely played by Sibley on the front foot. He's with a dead bat, and our Roger Federer lookalike, albeit a few years ago, grabs the ball and walks back to his mark again. 9 for no wicket. Ground staff sitting there, sort of poised on that big cover, ready to bring it out if necessary. But there's some serious social distancing going on there. They're about 10 yards apart. In goes Afridi, left arm over the wicket, bowls outside the off stump, and Sibley allows that to go flying through to Rizwan. Sibley paws at the ground, goes for a stroll. Got a good chance here to finish the summer on a really high note. Not so much chatter out there from Pakistan. I just heard one then which reminded me of how noisy it was at Old Trafford. It was definitely quieter in the last game. Not so much shouting going on. Masood bowls, and that's pushed away to cover. It's Abbas actually, isn't it? One more run, 10 for no wicket. And Sibley puts a thumb up there to his partner saying, yep, good run. 10 for no wicket. And, Shaheen, again, that lovely seam you see going down. There's a little bit of movement. There's nothing extravagant. But it's early days, a fresh pitch, a new ball. And he's certainly no slouch, despite the fact that he's bowling into the wind, albeit a slightly protected wind from down there. It's still ruffling his trousers. Burns looks up to see him running in again. There's long, easy strides. Oh, no, something happened there. Maybe the wind got him. Just buffeted at the wrong moment, and that's the problem with bowling into a wind. You can suddenly get a blast, a gust, and that's exactly what happened. He blew his cheeks out there on the way back and said, I'm sorry. That was simply too much. And I think Abbas has been a bit crafty here. Given the fact he really does just come scuttling in and bowls at 80 miles an hour. I suppose it's possible if he bowled from this end, he might not reach. But he's got the young lad trying to bowl fast, bowling into it. On his way again. This time he does deliver the ball outside the off stump. And collected by Rizwan in front of first slip. But you just get that buffet at the wrong moment. And of course it just throws you off balance. So sometimes it's best just to abandon the ball and go back and give it another go. At least there isn't a hill, because the worst is uphill into the wind, isn't it? I mean, really got no chance then. 10 for no wicket. Burns waits he's sucking in some air now, Afridi. He's going to set off now, left arm over the wicket. And he's there and he bowls very wide, and Rizwan has to dive for that in front of first slip. And it's the end of the over. He looks as if he's labouring a bit. I think he's finding it quite hard work. And his captain's having a word saying, "You all right?"
Poor Andy's been trying to get your attention for like
Has he?
10 balls. I've
Good
been
morning.
waving my arms.
I
and-
wonder what you were doing. I thought you were going through your bowling action.
No, I was like trying to give you the subtle nod, but I've had to do it
Ebbs, you know
unsubtly.
me.
Sorry, Andy.
Don't bother being subtle with me. Andy, just shout. Just be rude. It's fine. I don't mind.
Morning, Aggers.
Good morning.
Early wickets have been a hallmark of this summer, and England have lost a wicket inside the first 2 overs in 5 of their 9 innings before today, so getting through the first 3 is good news for them. 4 times they've lost a wicket in the first over, but England have also taken a wicket inside the first 2 overs in 4 out of 9 opposition innings. It's been a tough summer for starting.
In comes Abbas and bowls. Oh, simply there, plays across that pad. There is a man now at mid-wicket. They're taking a short leg out. And there's a man there, but that was not a straight bat at all. It's typical Abbas territory. 10 for no wicket. It's very hard to see. The trouble is, it's hard to see Andy from here.
Oh, here we go.
Well, because you're blocking the view. So he's way the far side of the room, and when he's got his snood on, it's sort of like he's camouflaged. It's even harder to see him down there. But he has made snoods trendy. I've gone for a snood. I've given up. I can't get the glasses keep fugging up with the conventional masks. And sometimes Abbas and bowls, and that's played off a thick edge down into the gully region. So yeah, yes, a snood will be on. Are you doing the T20s?
Yeah, I am.
Right,
I am.
I've gone snood. So
Is that just to? Is it for trend or is it for?
well, I think it's
effectiveness?
supposed to stop the glasses steaming up because you
Okay.
haven't quite. Oh, you do wear glasses
I
sometimes.
do
don't
wear
you?
glasses sometimes. I've got a really good mask which doesn't steam up.
Right.
Just an online jobby. Various colours. I've got pink.
It doesn't steam.
Doesn't steam. Easier
Right.
to breathe.
Oh.
Some of those I've got a friend who made a homemade mask, but I just couldn't breathe
Well,
to save my life.
I'm still wearing the ones that Isha said looked like her pants. I'm still getting over that. 10 for no wicket. In comes Abbas from the far end, moves in, bowls and simply squared up and pushed into offside. No. Shouts Burns, get back. And so no run is taken.
It's noticeable the 2 bowlers how different they are at the moment. Abbas is forcing England to think about playing every single delivery. Afridi's just given too many free ones, just given a little bit of space to think about playing or leaving, sometimes not even having to consider it. But there's such a difference with Abbas. He's on you every single delivery, on and around that off stump.
Oh, he's relentless, isn't he? Absolutely relentless. I mean, you have to be at that pace.
Yeah.
But he's just absolutely mastered it. He comes again, arms rocking over the wicket, bowls on that off stump. It's just so robotic. And simply comes forward to this one and plays back to the bowler. He almost bowls off the wrong foot. It's not quite, which is quite off-putting as a batsman. Have you ever faced many off the wrong foot?
Yeah, 1 or 2 back in the day. You're just getting your timing. It's a little bit off, isn't it?
Strange. And Mike Proctor, I suppose, is the most famous one, but there have been others. And you could see that Abbas is so close to it. He just rolls, he just runs straight through the crease. And he comes again and bowls on off stump, and there's Sibley to meet him, pushing out with a very dead bat this time out to mid-off, and the sun is with us. It won't be with us for long, but at least a fleeting reminder. Well, having said that, yesterday actually was beautiful down here. A beautiful day. It's been weird weather, hasn't it? Oh, there it was, setting off into the oblivion 2 days ago from Lymington. Just absolutely non-stop deluge. To yesterday being a beautiful day, and now we've got the storm coming in. Abbas bowls, and he's got that away down to backward square leg. They'll think about the second, but won't get it actually. That's fielded by Naseem Shah down here, who will he have to bowl into the wind, or will he actually be given the breeze, I wonder, the young fast bowler? We shall find out soon enough. It's the end of the over. It's 11 for no wicket. 4 overs have been delivered. Ebony, more for... Oh, and Andy, I saw the wave.
Oh,
more
saw
from
it
you.
this time.
And then Atif Nawaz is coming in here.
So just quickly, Ebony, as you mentioned, Abbas has made the batsman play far more than Afridi so far. England have left 7 balls of the 12 that Shaheen Afridi has bowled, and only 1 of the 2 overs from Mohammad Abbas.
You capturing those stats, Andy?
Well, just for those few overs.
That is, I mean, that's another level. I mean, you've got about 1 million pencils, you've got 4 or 5 different notepads, and now you're tracking believes in playing.
Further on opening partnerships struggling, there have been 13 single-figure opening partnerships this summer. There's one more in the remaining 3 innings of this game. That'll be the most ever in an English summer, currently tied with 2000 in the triangular summer of 1912.
Arguably the toughest conditions, I'd say, for opening Duke's ball.
Shaheen Afridi in now to Sibley, who works that away to square leg for no run. Good morning, guys. How are you?
You've just... Oof. Hello. How are you? You said that was a good... How are you? With a bit of...
Yeah, it's always it's a question, so you can put some upspeak at the end of a question, I think.
How are you is a better question.
I'm very, very well, thank you. It's a tricky morning for Pakistan. First time they're going to be tested batting second in this series, and it's certainly not what they wanted. I mean, their strategy is very much to bat first, get close to that 300 mark and see how far they can go, but this is very difficult indeed. I was talking to Mark Ramprakash earlier, is talking about the wind out there just being one of the most difficult things to bowl into. And into the wind comes Shaheen Afridi, just outside the off stump, this time thick inside edge. Goes over to fine leg. They take a single. England very quickly moved on to 12 runs this morning, scoring relatively quickly, with relative ease at the moment. Yeah, so, just having that discussion about bowling into the wind and, technically what the pressures of it are, and it's kind of, you can't be as upright as you want to be. You have to kind of lean a little. You have to kind of have this weird crouchy stance as you're running in. How much of an impact does that have on you?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about?
Well, first of all, it's rhythm. So running in, sometimes you start to either overstep or understep depending on where the breeze is hitting you. But I always found it as you get into that sort of coil position, and that's usually where you set everything up. Your wrist position's right, your arms are right, and they just get sometimes it's hard to hold that position. And as soon as that's out, the whole unravelling of the clock just seems to fail.
In comes Shaheen Afridi once again, just back over leg. This time takes an outside edge, and it's been caught at fourth slip. Well, they're celebrating, and Burns is holding his ground. He's not quite gone anywhere yet. I think he wants to have that check, but it was an excellent catch at fourth slip. The Pakistani players are celebrating. And yes, the umpires are just going to have a little chat before they confirm that wicket has indeed fallen. 12 runs on the board for England. They're just going to have another look at it, but the Pakistanis are celebrating. They're looking at, we've had the official signal for the third umpire to have a little look at that. Looked like it carried from here.
The umpire review for clean catch. It's a fair delivery. If we could just move on to one of your best angles, please.
Just going to have a look at the catch. That looks like it's carried.
Yeah, gut feeling is that it carried. His response was that it carried. Yeah, it's definitely gone in at a catchable height.
Yeah, if you can just rock and roll that, please.
They may ask is just whether that finger got burst into the floor.
Just rock and roll that, please. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Looks like the fingers are under the ball. Keep it going through, please. Keep it rolling through. Thank you. I have a decision ready for the big screen. The decision is out. Repeat, out.
Yes, indeed. There we go. Shan Masood with the catch there at fourth slip. Really did well, Abs, to get his fingers underneath and anticipate how low that ball was going to go and get those fingers underneath it. It takes great presence of mind to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was a brilliant bit of skill, I have to be honest. We've seen a couple just sort of dart on the angle. They're going straight down. So this one was coming at a sharp angle into the floor. And sometimes it's hard to make sure that you hold your hands firm enough that it doesn't burst through, or it doesn't go through at that angle. He's been tested out there a couple of times, Burns. We saw the first boundary of the day was a thick outside edge that he got down. This one, though, snaffled up. Good bit of fielding and well adjusted. I have to say, Afridi's line hasn't been perfect today. I think he's been a little bit wide. But as soon as he's got it right, we see the impact straight away.
It's extraordinary considering, we've been talking about Pakistani slips as well and how they're usually quite deep set. And, they were still quite deep set, weren't they? I know he kind of dropped in front of him, but if anything's an indicator to come a little bit further forward, that is. Andy, tell us about that innings that has just ended, please.
6 from 13 balls, and Burns now has just 20 runs from his 4 innings in this series.
Oh. We'll be hoping to change that in the second innings. England's first wicket woes continue in this series. 12 for 1 here after 4.3 overs. And Zach Crawley will come out and join his opening partner, Shaheen Afridi. That'll make him feel a little bit better about bowling into the wind. It's interesting, people talk about seniority, but I remember when Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis used to open the bowling together. Wasim though he was no doubt the senior of the two, he would always bowl into the wind, and Waqar would get the theoretically the easier angle. It's bizarre. I suppose it was because Wasim had that shorter run up, and maybe he thought he could just run all the way through it.
Yeah, and as well, some people are good at not fighting the wind. I know that sounds odd, but some people, when you know it's coming at you, you tense up.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you think about Wasim's action. He always had a flow, didn't he? It was just so easy. And I wonder if he was able just to, coaches used to talk about breaking the wind, just let it kind of flow around you rather than fighting it. And he had that sort of action, didn't he? He could do what he wanted, really.
Yeah, I often worry about breaking the wind.
I hope you haven't done it this morning.
No. 3 slips and a gully in place now for Zach Crawley, and Shaheen's just at the top of his run. Pauses, leans in and runs into bowl. He starts with a full delivery on the pads of Crawley's, flicked that away nicely into the boundary at square leg. 4 runs. What a way to start your innings. England move on to 16 for 1. That was as nonchalant as you like, Ebbs.
I like Zach Crawley so much, and he's just continued here. I know, look, it's the first shot you got again, but it's just the timing, the ease. He's clearly seeing it like a football at the moment, and I like that he gets on with it. In the sense of, if he's out there to be positive, so he's not going to miss out. I thought he was an excellent half century in that last game.
Yeah, he batted really well in that second innings. Just gave a little indication of what he's capable of in very difficult circumstances as well. So that square leg fielder is just going out a little bit further, and the wicketkeeper's going to take control of that helmet. 3 slips and a gully still. Just a deep backward square leg in place. In fact, fine leg really. Shaheen just pausing at the top of his run, just waiting for the wind to settle as he starts to run in and bowls a full delivery just outside the off stump, and teasing that off stump. Really just came back in sharply off the surface, left alone by the batsman, through to the keeper for no run. And you heard those cries of anguish. It's about as close as, other than the actual wicket falling, it's about as close as they've come to disturbing the stump this morning, Pakistan.
That was sharp, wasn't it? Sharp movement, seam movement back in. He's got almost a perfect seam at the moment. It angles so nicely back into the keeper, and that one just a little bit of kick off the surface.
You can see Imam ul Haq and Sarfraz Ahmed just waving in our direction over here. They've got the orange bibs on. Very bright. Luminous almost. In comes Shaheen Afridi once again, and he bowls a full delivery. Of swinging in sharply, but a thick outside edge from the bat of Crawley goes between the 3rd and 4th slip, and it races away to the 3rd man boundary. That's another 4 for him. And he's moved on to 8 very quickly. It's the end of the over as well. 20 for 1 after 5 overs, England. It's all happening here at the Ageas Bowl today.
It's a lively start, isn't it? He did well, actually, Crawley, to dig that out. I have to be honest, that was sharp, sort of unexpected Yorker. He went really full right, zoned in, and nearly tickled those pads. By the way, I don't know, I take pleasure in these sort of things. Andy, I don't know if you're up with your stats, but...
Thanks. Pleasure working with you for the last 4 years.
My stats machine on my computer tells me that Sibley, if he reaches 6, gets to 5,000 first-class runs. Just, I don't know if you've picked that up yet.
In comes Mohammad Abbas now, and just left alone outside the off-stump, through to the keeper, no run. Were you on top of that, Andy?
Not really. looking at the test stats, but looking at England's opening partnerships, it has been a very tough few years. Looking at England's average opening stands in each home summer since 2000. The last summer was the lowest. The average opening stand was 16.6. This summer, 25.5 currently with 1 innings to go. That's 3rd lowest this millennium.
Mohammad Abbas now running in, 3 slips and a gully in place, and he just angles into the hips of the batsman, who works that away simply into that boundary, in fact, at backward square leg. Excellent shot in the end, just timed that beautifully. It seemed like he just tucked it away for a single, but of course there's no one out there. And another boundary for England, 24 for 1. Sorry, Andy.
The second lowest was 2017, and 2018 was the 5th lowest, so only 2010 breaks up the dominance of the last 4 years in toughest home seasons for English opening stands this millennium.
It's been a tough time. There has been some serious quality fast bowling around this summer, hasn't there, Abs?
It has. I think, as a batter as well, even for Pakistan players.
Abbas in once again, just outside the off stump, and just fended off really just outside the off stump to the fielder at Gully on the bounce there by Sibley. He wasn't comfortable with that at all. No run.
Yeah, I think coming to English conditions as a test batter, you could dominate in other parts of the world, but until you can come and have success against the Duke's ball in an English summer, I'm thinking back to Virat Kohli and how he had to really work on his game to come back and have an impact. It's something that that if you're successful here, you've learnt a real skill.
Abbas in now once again, and just outside the off stump, and plays and misses at that Sibley as it goes through to the keeper. More cries of anguish from the Pakistani fielders. They're noisier now. They were very quiet this morning, as Agaz noted as well. There's a lot of, a bit of calmness about them, which is always a bit unsettling with Pakistan. 24 for 1. And they're making a lot of noise now.
They were noisy in that final innings we had as well after the rain-affected match, but they were piping up. I enjoy it. I love a bit of, I loved your piece as well, explaining what everything meant, all the words and the different phrases. I knew Shabash, but that was about it.
Mohammad Abbas now comes in once again and just left alone by Sibley, through to the keeper again. Rizwan, the first one to make some noise. I was chatting to Shan Massoud between test matches, and hopefully you'll get a chance to hear that a little bit later on, but he talked about how Mohammad Rizwan is where it all starts on the field, as the wicket keeper. They call him Rizzy, and he makes a lot of noise, and he really keeps everybody going. And also he's multilingual, so he can speak kind of Pashto, he can speak Punjabi, Urdu. He's the one guy that understands all the languages, and he makes sure he's kind of that kind of fire starter in the field and stuff. And they love him. They've got a lot of love for him in that dressing room. As in comes Abbas once again, just wide outside the off stump, left alone a bit more comfortably that time by Dom Sibley. Completes the over. 24 for 1 after 6, England, as we're going to temporarily say goodbye to Ebony, and we shall see her again soon. 24 for 1. And on the cricket section of the BBC Sport website, they are currently selecting a wind 11 if you want to get involved. So far we have Gareth Breeze and Andrew Gale, with blowers commentating. Get involved with Amy Lofthouse, who's on the text commentary today. TMS at bbc.co.uk or at BBC TMS on social media. Yeah, a wind 11. That'd be quite interesting to see. Just a little break as the field is just being tapped down by Zach Crawley. Still the 3 slips and a gully in place. Shaheen running into the wind. And in he goes. Tucks his chest in and starts running in towards the batsman, and that one swinging into his pads in the end. Has been flicked away nicely by Crawley. He's racing away towards that mid-wicket boundary. The fielder in pursuit will get there in the end. It's Naseem Shah, and he gets the ball back, and it's easy too for Crawley. He moves on to 3, I beg your pardon. 11, 27 for 1 England. As we say good morning to Phil Tufnell. How are you, Tuffers?
Morning, Atif. Morning, everyone. Very well.
Yeah?
Yes.
You look well.
Fine form.
Yeah.
Fine form, yes.
Good man. Good to see England batting first. Something different this summer.
Well, no, very good. Yeah, it's a bit of a slow seamer, isn't it? Slow seamer. You've got to be a bit watchful, because the odd one is just doing a bit off the seam, and there's a little bit of swing there, but no real pace about the pitch. And when they've just strayed in line, they've knocked it away nicely, England. So I'll be disappointed with the Rory Burns dismissal again. Just feeling outside that off stump, gets the nick and nicked off. But good toss to win. Good toss to bat first on.
Shaheen Afridi coming in now to Sibley, a full delivery, and it just beats that outside edge. It goes through, just moved away a touch there, Tuffers, through to the keeper. Yeah. No run in the end. A lot of moments of threat from Pakistan.
Oh, for sure. There will be a little bit, and it's an underprepared pitch, really, isn't it? It's a bit difficult. So, yeah, that one just swinging in and nipping away. Play that if you can. As it always is, isn't it? On the first morning, you're going to have to get through that first session. There's going to be, new ball, a little bit of movement. But these two doing all right at the moment.
Yeah, they're doing okay. These two batsmen just hanging in and getting some runs along the way. 27 for 1 England as Shaheen Afridi comes in once again and bowls just back of a leg, pushed into the covers. They think about taking a single. A quick yell of no from Sibley. So no run is taken. Good piece of fielding there by Fawad Alam. He enjoyed that. Had a little smile as well. Fawad Alam will be relieved to play again this game.
I'm glad he's got another go. You can't wait 11 years for your recall and then get one on the pad on a tricky pitch, you know, and then just get discarded. So yeah, I'm glad he survived to play another Test match. Yeah, that would have been a bit harsh.
Indeed. In comes Afridi once again, just a little bit shorter this time, and just fended off the hips by Sibley, just close to where a short leg fielder would be, or was a little bit earlier. No run, 27 for 1, the score remains.
Yeah, 3 in that leg side area for him, isn't there? He's becoming a bit of an issue, I think, with Dom Sibley about this leg side, genuine mode of dismissal. The sort of, you know, going down leg side to get half a bat on it, caught behind, caught slip, leg slip, caught keeper. I mean, he's been out a few times like that. Something for him to not to be concerned about just yet, but it's happening a little bit too regularly for me. And Pakistan obviously have sort of got a feeling that there's a wicket there to be had in the leg side off of him.
Yeah, they're all on standby as are the 2 slips and gully, as in comes Shaheen Afridi, and again just swinging in towards the batsman, this time fully in control of that, forward and defensively into the onside for no run. Trying to look as settled as he possibly can. Sibley, he's got plenty of time, obviously, with England winning the toss, and conditions supposedly they're going to be pretty good for the rest of the match. They say there's a little bit of rain apparently, bits and pieces, but generally it's going to be okay.
Oh, that would be nice. I mean, it's blowing a gale.
Yeah, it's pretty windy out there.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually at some point we're going to see the spinner Yasser Shah come on.
Yeah.
How difficult is it as a spin bowler? And I'll get you to chime in on this after this delivery.
Sure.
And actually bowl into that wind and stay in control.
Yeah, it's tricky.
In comes Shaheen Afridi now once again, and just swinging in towards the batsman. Again, nicely behind that in defence was Sibley. Pushes it down the ground for no run. 27 for 1 after 7 overs. Toughest.
Yeah, well, I mean, for all bowlers, really, not just the spinner. Difficult for the faster bowlers to run into it as well. Nicer if it's at your back. But then crosswinds as well. It's not just a breeze. I mean, you like a breeze as a bowler because you like to sort of like get drift as a spin bowler and swing as a seam bowler, but sort of gusty, swirly wind, you're just forever trying to find your rhythm. You know, as you're running, you've got to get a little bit lower, perhaps, as you're running in as a faster bowler to try and cut through it a bit. And it's just buffets you, you know, and it's awkward. You know, it's not the end of the world, you know, you've got to get it done, of course you have. But you never feel settled or in a rhythm. You know, there's always something just sort of like trying to put you off kilter a little bit. So it is tricky, but, you know, you've got to get on with it. It's usually a bit cold as well. You know?
Mohammad Abbas in now with 3 slips in place, and this time firmly behind that in defence is Crawley. Yeah, you can see a few of the Pakistani fielders out there with the sleeveless jumpers on. Yeah. I think I've seen at least one full sleeve on. Yeah, I think Shan Masood's got a full sleeve on.
And then also, of course, it's just a bit stiff. You know, you have your spell, you warm up, you go down to a fine leg, and then that wind sort of whips round the lower back, and so you're always just sort of like stretching off and things. You know, I mean, you know, worst things happen at sea, but it's a bit awkward.
In comes Mohammad Abbas now once again, just outside off stump, and just beats him as he plays and misses Zach Crawley through to the keeper for no run in the end, but just teasing that outside edge toughness.
Yeah, he's not going to leave there, is he? That's one thing you know with Mohammad Abbas. He's just going to be on that area. He lives for running up and bowling that length and line, and doesn't leave there all day. So he's going to be testing your technique. You just got to really try and see him off, I think, really. You know, just got to try and, you know, hopefully you don't get that one that nicks the outside edge, and just try and see him off and wait for the other fella to come on the bowl.
Mohammad Abbas runs in once again and just back at the length, played into the onside, and no run taken. Yeah, it was a bit shorter that time, wasn't it?
No, he's had a little run down at him there, Crawley, just to try and mix up that length, actually.
Yeah.
I reckon he's taken at least 1 or 2 steps there. There you go, he's taken 2 big steps to try and, you know, mess his length up, but Abbas has just seen him coming and just dropped it a bit shorter.
I was
but
reading...
look at that wind now, it's blowing.
Yes, properly. You can see the trouser legs of the Pakistani slip cord just going all over the place. And in fact, you can hear the wind in the background. Some cables and technical equipment we have at the ground is all flying all over the places. Our producer looks slightly panicked behind me, just slightly.
Yeah.
In comes Mohammad Abbas now, once again, just full of length this time, pushed into the covers. They run through for a quick single. Will they make it comfortably in the end? Excellent running there.
Yeah, that's good play against Mohammad Abbas, because he's not going to really give you any bad balls, is he? So you've got to look to rotate strike. If he has 6 at you, you know, he can start playing with you a little bit, and you know, as a batsman, you don't want to let someone like him have 6 or an over 8 because he's probably going to nick you off. So good running between the wickets, good rotation of strike, and also it keeps the scoreboard ticking because he really can dry you up. Can I just say a quick hello to my mate Steve Humphries?
Hello, Steve.
I've done it already.
There you go. Hello, Steve Humphries.
It's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, he'll be listening.
28 for 1. England as Abbas comes in for the 5th delivery of his 4th over and just wide outside the off stump, and Sibley will be grateful for an easy leave through to the keeper. He hasn't had too many easy leaves here. That wind is getting quicker again. You can see there's a few cables just to the right hand side of our vantage point here, and they're moving around sort of precariously at the moment. Did you close your balcony door, Tuffers?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I better go and check.
I'm worried about mine. I'll go check on that after this delivery, and Dan Norcross can come in and keep you company as Mohamed Abbas there running in once again with his 3 slips in place. He bowls just outside the off stump, wide and comfortably left alone by Sibley. That's the end of the over. 28 for 1 England after 8 overs. A few thoughts from you, Tuffers, and then you'll have the soothing sounds of Mr. Dan Norcross.
Yeah, 28 for 1, not a bad start for England. Little bit to seam movement, bit of slow sort of seam, and everything's a bit slow out there on this pitch. To say it's been a little bit underprepared. There's no real pace to it, so when it does do it, you can usually sort of adjust yourself. But you've been doing it all right at the moment. Crikey, I'm just looking at Mr. Crawley there. He is absolutely charging down the pitch to Abbas. Dan, morning.
Good morning, Tuffers.
Morning, old boy.
Yes, Tuffers and Tiffers, I noticed, were...
Tiffers?
Tiffers, yeah.
Who's Tiffers?
Tiff.
Oh, Tiffers.
Yeah. Has that not stuck yet?
Well, no. No, Tiffers. I quite like Tiffers,
yeah. I think that works, doesn't it?
Well, that could be a mix-up, though, couldn't it?
I'm up for it.
Could be all sorts of things going on there.
So, yeah, Crawley is advancing, isn't he?
Oh, is he ever?
I mean, that's been a sort of plan against Mohamed Abbas from England batsmen. Actually, we've seen a bit against the West Indies as well, haven't we? Yeah.
All summer. Stokes, yeah. Absolutely sort of, at least 2 or 3 paces down the pitch. You've got to have a good eye at that.
Shaheen Afridi from our end, the broadcast end, is into Crawley with 3 slips. Comes forward in defence to a full ball, pushes out to short extra cover. And there's no run. 28 for 1. Crawley got off to a flyer, 11 off his first 4 balls.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's going to continue at that rate through today.
He likes to get on with it, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he looks like a good, positive, I like him. I think he plays well. He looks very confident. Nice technique. Yeah.
Important to have as well, a bit of tempo coming in at 3.
Exactly. Just don't want to dry up all the time, do you? So he looks positive.
Shaheen Afridi's got a short mid-wicket. Yazir Shah as Crawley covers up in defence to a full ball on middle stump, pushes out forward square leg, and there is no run. So we've got sort of 2 slips and a 4th slip, really.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose well-spaced 3 slips. They are very well-spaced. More so than England's slips, who tend to be a bit more concatenated or concertinaed, if you like. It's a backward point, an extra cover, a mid-on, that short mid-wicket. So
I like that.
Is this something for Crawley, do you think?
Both of them.
Both, yeah. He's got a very wide open stance, hasn't he? His left leg's quite wide out towards the leg side. Shows a few stumps, does Crawley, as Shaheen is into him, outside the off stump, left alone, fullish, goes through about waist height, no run.
They both like a little clip, don't they, through their mid-wicket, and on a slowish pitch, one might just sort of hold in the surface. I mean, Sibley, that's his scoring area, isn't it, through mid-wicket?
Yep.
So if it just holds on him, that bloke comes into play a little bit. I don't mind that.
Do you know what you make of this pitch? So far, it feels a little slower than the last one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Why is that?
Well, I think maybe because I don't think he could have had a lot of time to prepare it,
And that'll just dampen it down, will it? Or
just not sort of enough solidity in it.
Shaheen Afridi's in, driven, but off a thick inside edge. It'll squirt out through mid-wicket, and they're going to come back for 2 as the ball is retrieved by Fielder running in from the square leg boundary.
I mean, he had no time to prepare it during the last Test match, of course.
No.
It's only 2 away, and so, he couldn't get a roller on it probably or anything. So it just probably, it needed a little bit more compact particularly.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think 30 for 1, I should say. The score was advanced to Crawley to 14. That you sort of think that maybe an underprepared pitch means that there'll be more grass in it and it'll like shoot around, but it doesn't necessarily result in that, does it?
No. Oh, I like that other pitch. Things were happening.
Yeah, you
quickly.
did, didn't you?
It's exciting.
I was listening in. I could tell it in your voice. Shaheen Afridi in wide outside the off stump. Then it swung back and was taken well by the keeper, diving to his left. Gives you an idea of how much that ball's moved after it's left. Well, I'd say left the bat. The bat wasn't really proffered when there's no run.
Well, I think it's more exciting, isn't it?
Yes.
When it's doing a little bit. You know, if you get a score, if you're getting a 300. You know, it's well played. I think that's good cricket. You know, if you get...
We like wickets, don't we?
Well,
let's be honest. I mean,
yeah.
they're sort of like goals, aren't they? And that's what we get up for.
It's
the great thing about cricket. You get an awful lot more goals than you do in football.
Yes, I like
as a general rule.
Yeah, I like a good bit of batting.
Shaheen Afridi to complete the over, covering up in defence to a full straight ball, pushed out sort of short extra cover by Crawley. End of the over, 9 gone. England 30 for 1. Crawley 14, Sibley 10. Andy Zaltzman was waving at
was
me
he?
from far in the distance.
Was he? What was he waving at?
Shaheen Afridi versus Rory Burns. This summer has been somewhat of an unequal contest. 36 deliveries, 18 runs to Burns, 3 wickets to Shaheen Afridi. But interestingly, before this series, Shaheen averaged 36 against left-handers and 24 against right-handers. And Rory Burns had not been out in 199 balls of left-arm seam in his career before this series, and he's faced some very fine left-arm seam bowlers. Neil Wagner hadn't got him out in 90 balls in New Zealand. Trent Bolt hadn't got him out in 65 balls, and Mitchell Stark hadn't got him out in 44 balls in last summer's Ashes. So something of a curiosity.
Well,
it's intriguing.
I'll tell you what it tells me is Mohamed Abbas starts a new over to Sibley, who gets a thick outside edge. It squirts through the gully region and they'll get a run for it.
What have you deduced
31
from
one.
Deduced from all
What
of
I've
that?
deduced from it is that while poring over all these matchups that we're encouraged to do nowadays, and we'd have said, well, you don't want to bowl Shaheen Afridi at Rory Burns because he doesn't get out to left arm seam.
Yes.
This, it turns out, is complete bunkum.
Well, old Codswallop.
Well, it does rather suggest, doesn't it, that perhaps what's happening is that batsmen get out to good balls regardless of who bowls them.
Correct.
It's just a thought I've had of late. Mohamed Abbas is hit to Crawley, who advances down the wicket, gets a thick inside edge. It runs down to fine leg. Oh, where Shaheen Afridi fumbles it, but he will be able to retrieve it about a foot inside the boundary, and they'll run back for 2, taking Crawley to 16 from 15 balls,
Yes.
33 for 1.
I never used to like that I never used to like sort of going over to somewhere like South Africa.
Oh yeah,
or something like that. They sort of go, not very good players to spin. Yeah. Well, they can't play spin very well, Phil. You'll be
fine.
Yeah, they're quite good players. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, spinner, I'm out because I'm South African. No, I don't like that.
Well, it sort of worked for one of the greatest spin bowlers of all time, Shane Warne, against Darryl Cullinan, and that's where it sort of stuck.
Yeah.
Abbas in, forward in defence comes Crawley, slightly on the walk, back up the wicket to the bowler. There's no run.
But it just puts a little bit of sort of added sort of pressure on you. You know, I mean, I think Jack Callis is quite a good player of spin. Gary Kirsten, quite a good player of spin. You know,
don't say Gary Kirsten. When you say Gary Kirsten, it sends poor old Andy into terrible connections.
What's that?
Oh,
hold on.
Shall we let him tell you at the end of the over?
Yeah, hold on.
Because it's quite a story.
I'm just going to try it one more time. Gary Kirsten.
Oh,
yeah. What's he doing?
Andy's ultimate away to my right. It's like a man who's just been prodded by an electric cattle prod. Abbas in. Oh, that cuts back sharply, hits the pad of Crawley and squirts out to gully. There's no run. Yes, I mean, many Englishmen were scarred by watching Gary Kirsten because of the length of time he would bat, largely against England.
Durban.
But poor old
to do with Durban.
No,
Old Trafford. See,
was it?
1998, the one year of my life I had something resembling a proper job. I took a week's holiday to go and watch the Test match. Spent 2 days of it watching Gary Kirsten. I mean, some would say bat, others would say attempt to extinguish the concept of hope from the entire universe in an 11-hour double century with no redeeming aesthetic merit.
He's never forgotten it.
Oh.
Abbas into Crawley, who clips this away, but straight to the forward square leg. He's there with his shin guards on. There's no run. 33 for 1.
I took my then girlfriend to watch this game.
Oh, really?
We're now married, have been for many years. Two children. I reckon if a relationship can withstand a Gary Kirsten double 100, it can take anything.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
the acid test.
well, you say withstand. I mean, there could be causation there. Maybe it was a thing that sort of drew you together.
Yes. Perhaps she loved it.
Exactly. A pass into Crawley, who tries to leave this, and in so doing, guides it off the face of the bat to slip regions for third slip, where Shaheen Massoud collects. End of the over, 10 gone. England 33 for 1. Crawley 16, Sibley 11.
What did she make of Gary Kirsten, Andy? Or did even
adores him?
Mostly slept.
Gary Kirsten poster on the wall. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop saying Gary Kirsten.
He was. See, well, this is sort of my point. Is that I think when we look at the way Rory Burns has got out Shaheen Afridi, we can either say he's developed a weakness to left arm seam, or we can say more likely really good balls on and around off stump that hold up and bounce a little bit and go away, catch the outside edge with a new ball often.
Yeah, going to do for most people.
It was a very good ball, and it was a very good catch.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Now then, this is an intriguing thing. This is an introduction of leg spin before noon on day one, which has got Andy scurrying for his books. It's Yazir Shah who's going to bowl from this end, the broadcast end.
And there's what's the other leggy called?
Shadab?
Yes, he's just down there, just come out of his room to have a little look.
Yes, well, he may well. Azhar Mahmood gave us a bit of a masterclass on how you can tell when Yazir Shah's bowling well.
Yes.
All about his right hip and how far...
Driving through.
If he ends up too square on, then it just slightly affects his line. He wants to see him a bit more side on at the point of delivery, and that hip not come too far wide. Let's have a look. It's up against Sibley, and that looks pretty decent as he's clipped away, though, through mid-wicket for a couple of runs. It was full, and Nazim Shah comes round to field from not off the boundary, sort of 2/3 of the way back at a deep mid-wicket. They come through for a couple. Sibley to 13, England 35 for 1.
See, I think that this pitch must be a little bit drier. I think that's obviously why England decided to bat first as well. And to see a spinner on before noon, as you said, is encouraging.
Leg spinner, not Nazim Shah, but maybe he's going to come from the far end perhaps. As Yazir Shah's in, that's short, cut away easily out to the sweeper boundary. There is a man out there who fields, and they pick up just the one. 36 for 1. Sibley to 14 or 30. He's going along quite comfortably at the moment. The ball has beaten the bat a bit today, we should say, and England have lost that 1 wicket of Rory Burns that we've been talking about. Caught very well by Shaheen Massoud at 4th slip, very low down.
Good catch, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had to check it, but it was a little bit. I mean, Joe Root had one that was similar height, and it just burst through his hand, and as a consequence was given not out. Shaheen Massoud managed to keep his hands under the ball, wrap those fingers under it and claim the catch. As Yazir is in now to Crawley, goes back into his stumps and punches off the back foot to extra cover, straight to the fielder, and there's no run.
The difference was that he was moving forward, wasn't he? Which was like sort of Root was sort of like on the way back, wasn't he? So it's very good if it's low. It's difficult to do at slip. To try and get your head going towards the ball.
Well, you think of your teeth, don't you? Yes. Another short ball is played nicely by Crawley, square of the wicket off the back foot with a it's a back foot drive. They run back for 2. This is good positive running from Sibley and Crawley. Good positive cricket from Crawley so far this morning, who's looked good. He's moved to 18, and England to 38 for 1. I'm trying to get my... You know, I haven't been in this bubble yet, you see, so I'm trying to position myself so I can see everything properly and get used to all the scoreboards. Yazir's in, and forward comes Crawley, defends back at the wicket, fielded off his own bowling by Yazir Shah. There's no run. You've got to understand the idiosyncrasies of the different scoreboards, because some decide to show you a replay when you want to see the score, and you know, it's all that. Yazir's in, and that's again cut, this time by Crawley off the back foot out to the sweeper boundary. Not been a good over so far from Yazir. He's dropped too short in that over. 39 for 1 England with that single. Crawley moves to 19.
Yeah, spin bowling all about finding the right pace, right flight. Takes you a couple of overs, especially in blustery conditions. He'll now be thinking to himself, well, he's not getting a lot of kick from that short of a length.
I was going to ask about into the wind for the leg spinner as well. I mean, does that help
with your flight? helps with flight, helps with a bit of dip. So there you go. So there's no point in dropping it short. So I can guarantee you next over he'll be looking just to pop a few up into it, because you get no value for short.
And you might get, I suppose, to sink, mightn't you, in this kind of wind. I mean, the wind's dropped a little bit as I say that. It's just going through a periodic phase of being nothing more than very breezy as opposed to a howling gale. Mohammed Abbas is going to continue. He's got Crawley and 3 sips and a gully, and Crawley comes forward and works around his pad to the mid-wicket. And it's picked up and there's no run. 39 for 1 England. Crawley 19, Sibley 14. This after England won the toss and elected to bat on a day. It's not yet as bad as we thought it might be.
No, this morning was looking very...
Oh, it was bleak.
Yeah, it was bleak.
And not as bleak as you guys had to endure last week. I listened into you last week and I really felt for you.
Tricky test that.
It's not often I listen in and I feel for you because it's awfully good fun normally. Mohammed Abbas in outside the off stump through to the keeper, no run. I don't mean that the programme wasn't fun. I mean, I know you're enjoying yourselves. But last week, I think you did reach certainly Andy reached a point of quite serious vexation.
Yes.
Weren't enough stats.
No, there wasn't.
Well, no, there was darkness stats for you, there weren't there?
Yeah.
There were lumens to be counted.
We did have the lowest ever total England had ever declared on, though, hadn't they? Ever.
In a home test.
Yes. Oh, right. Yes.
I found that astounding. I was amazed there wasn't one, on a kind of sticky dog at some point. I suppose that happened in Australia, didn't it? Abbas is in outside the off stump wide through to the keeper, no run. They famously declared Australia, didn't they? Or England declared and put Australia in at, I want to say Adelaide in 36-7.
A sticky dog being obviously a pitch, just for anyone who doesn't.
Yes, sorry. And then Australia reversed the batting order and inevitably Bradman, the yellow Bradman, down the order, hit double 100.
Why is it called a sticky dog? I mean, I can understand why it's a bit sticky, but why are they calling it a dog?
I don't know. He's sort of matted and sweaty. I don't know. I'm not really a dog man. Abbas is in, wide again of the off stump and comfortably left alone by Crawley. Andy, have you unearthed some leg spinners before noon on day one stats? I think you might have done.
Well, the ball-by-ball stats which tell you what overs bowlers came on to bowl in only go back to 2001. But this is the earliest a leg spinner has bowled in a test in England, and the third earliest that a spinner has bowled in a test in England in the last 10 years. Nathan Lyon came on in the 10th over in Cardiff in 2015, and Ashwin in the 7th over at Edgbaston in 2018.
Here comes Abbas once more. Crawley advances, then gets a thick edge, squirting it again through the gully region down towards third man, but it is retrieved well inside the boundary. But Batsman have come through for 2 more. Crawley's into the 20s. He has 21. England 41 for 1. Did Graham Swan not open bowling against the West Indies?
This is only looking at the first innings, day one.
Of course, so. Right. Okay.
Come on.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, what that might tell us is not just, perhaps, that the pitch is conducive to spin, but it tells us something about the makeup of Pakistan's bowlers. I mean, I fancy that Nazim Shah is going to want to bowl from the far end.
The wind.
Shaheen Afridi can't keep bowling.
No.
So what are your other bowling options?
No, that's right. The spinner's going to have to do a little bit of donkey work.
It is, really. Mohammed Abbas in. Crawley defends this at the onside, shorter ball. He's going to get a single. Played it with very soft hands, and as a result, they're able to scamper through, and Crawley's able to scamper through to keep the strike. He has 22. England 42 for 1. Sibley 14. The wind-based 11 suggestions. Have we?
Oh, right. Yes.
We're there, are we? Continuing on the BBC Sport website now, Colin Edwards is suggesting Gust Logie.
Very good.
Ray Easterly.
Lovely.
Tim Southerly.
Yes.
And Hurricane Williamson. Very good. And Kevin from Leeds suggests the wind 11 should be selected by holding, guess what, a draft. Very good, that. Tough as you're still trying to wear that. I saw you gazing at that. A degree of incomprehension. Last over coming up before drinks. It's going to be Yazir Shah to bowl it. It's first.
Sam North East, he must be in it.
Sam North East, he's got to be, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see if he does get it a bit fuller this time. Yazir in, and he is fuller and driven back to Yazir, who dives to his left to field the ball. It was sort of a bump ball, and he took it well. His left hand, no run. Yes, his first over, 4 or 5 of the deliveries were way too short.
Yeah.
Crawley was just able to.
Slow pitch as well.
Yeah, so he's got to get it up there.
Yep.
See how he gets on. That is again followed and driven without timing. This time, Yazir.
Salmon.
Yes, I mean, the short extra cover was perfectly capable of getting that himself, but Yazir decided that he would dive like Greg Louganis. Wide to his
Greg
left.
Louganis. Hit his head on the board, didn't he?
He did, yes.
At Barcelona.
I can't remember which Olympics, but he certainly did that, didn't he? Driven again, firmly, beautifully by Crawley, with great timing, but with this in-out field,
I like it.
A deepish extra cover who's saving one for the well-struck shot, and that's exactly what happened.
He's got to do a job for the side here, the spinner. As you say, first day, wind gusting, the seamers want one end, he's got to dry up one end here, and that hence the field, a little bit set back, just a slip and a drive.
Short extra, a backward point, and a sort of deeper extra, and a long off. As this is short, this is walloped by Crawley out through extra cover. It's going to run away to the boundary for 4. That's the danger of dropping short on this pitch. And Crawley, who's looked very hot on the short ball, latches onto it. Moves to 26, England to 46 for 1 in the first hour. It's been it's been entertaining stuff, hasn't it? It's moved along at a good pace so far.
I mean, as you say, you get no value, even the threat of a wrong un or a flipper. There's no skip off the pitch when it's short for the leggy.
Here he is again, short again, but this time that does skid on a little bit, and it's played well by Crawley off the back foot with a straight bat up to long off. Gets another run. Ticking the score over very well indeed is Zach Crawley. He's moved to 27 from 34. England 47 for 1. I'm intrigued by... I think there's a bit of a subplot with England at the top of their order.
Right.
Stokes is going to come back in at some point.
Of course.
And I'm just having a look at the Burns, Sibley, Crawley trio and wondering if it will necessarily always be a trio. Just
trio.
We are on air, Tuffers.
I'm sorry.
Shaheen has clipped away nicely at deep mid-wicket for a single by Sibley. It was a full ball. He moves to 14. England 48 for 1. 15, I beg your pardon. 48 for 1 at the end of the 13th over. Commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra, digital radio, online and via the BBC Sounds app. But Radio 4 long-wave listeners are leaving us briefly for the shipping forecast. I have to say, it's one of those days I'd really quite like to know the shipping forecast, Michael. What is it going to say? You know, gales 10, 11, 12, gusting 30.
Yes. Windy.
Windy indeed. Michael, your thoughts on what has been, I think, a rather profitable first hour for England, despite the loss of that wicket of Rory Burns, 48 for 1. Zach Crawley going well, Dominic Sibley going well. Your thoughts on that? And then I will be replaced by Jonathan Agnew.
Yeah, the two right-handers have looked in full control so far, particularly Crawley. Came out there and hit his first ball for 4. Nice leg stump half volley from Shaheen Afridi. And he's playing with fluency. Times the ball gloriously. Playing the spinner nicely. There's nothing there really for Yazir Shah. He's probably been given the role with the conditions to try and just shore up an end so he can rotate the seamers from the end with the wind. That'll be Yazir Shah. I'm sure Azhar Ali will be having a word with him, just saying, come on, can you just bowl me a few overs cheaply from one end so I can rotate the seamers from the other. Crawley's a nice player. He tall. Jimmy Anderson gave a quote for the television saying he's found him really hard to bowl to in the nets because he's tall and his reach and he can drive decent length deliveries. And he's got a start, 350s in his Test career, and you feel that if he can keep playing like this could be the day. He gets the 3 figures for the first time.
Don't put the mockers on him. Cool.
No, we can't. That's all nonsense, isn't it? And do you agree with that? Can we put the mockers on him from here?
Commentator's curse. We get it all the time.
Commentator's curse only applies, I think, on 2.34% of occasions that a commentator says something about a player. So
it feels like it's more than that, and the listeners will be shouting. Anyway, they're all having a drink. The ground staff have done their work very quickly, actually, and so the last gentleman there with long shorts and his white plank is walking off towards the groundsman's area. Interesting first hour that. In 48 for 1 from the 13 overs that were bowled. A lovely low catch to dismiss Rory Burns. Shah Massoud taking that at 4th slip right down by his boots, and It was a great example of technology working well. It was the whole business, whole process with Richard Kettleborough, the third umpire, was very clear, very precise. The on-field umpires thought it was out and said so, but just make sure we're right.
Yeah, Shah Massoud, actually, when he caught the ball, if you just watch the television replay, he catches it, and as he comes up, he gets the ball in his right hand, and with his left hand, he actually is giving it out. His finger goes up and says, I've caught that. That's out.
I wonder if that has any influence on the third umpire looking at the footage or not. Whether there's any kidology of... I was on the balcony, and as soon as it was shown on the big screen... Welcome back, long wave listeners. You just missed the drinks break, that's all, and no action as such. Just going through that process with Michael Vaughan about the third umpire looking at the catch to dismiss Rory Burns and how clear and precise it was. Now, the first ball outside the off stump is propelled by Naseem Shah, the first ball after the breaks, and Crawley lets that go through. He's on 27, played very fluently so far. He played well the other day, except that was Sibley actually let one go by. So apart from that, I got it right. But both tall men.
And they both use the same bats. So they look pretty much the same.
They do, to be fair. They look sleeveless sweaters.
It's a bit of giveaway with the techniques. I think two slightly different techniques.
That is true. A little bit of blue sky overhead. But it's predominantly grey and breezy. And Naseem, with that wind behind him, runs in, bowls, and Sibley allows that to pass through outside the off stump. It cut back a little bit and kept low, and Rizwan there was diving full length to his left.
But I tell you what, I don't think it's done anywhere near what we thought it would have done for the first hour or so. It's been the odd ball, but nothing like we saw last week when there was a huge amount of swing, seam movement. It looks a pretty good batting wicket to me. Not a great deal of pace. I don't like there's a lot of pace in it. Yeah. But it's certainly a surface that, if you give yourself a chance, you should be able to get a decent score on it.
Naseem Shah then runs in, hurls that down outside the off stump. Sibley watches it go by.
Sam Curran gets us down here to our right. Look, nice bright pair of trainers.
He's probably carrying a cup of coffee. He usually is. He's one of the trendy coffee drinkers in that England team.
They've all got their own machines in the rooms.
Yeah, it's funny what you get to learn when you're all in a bubble together for a while.
And they get coffee beans sent from different suppliers. I noticed that on Instagram. They've been posting pictures of the different coffee beans.
Naseem bowling outside the off stump. Oh, that keeps low. Rizwan again has to adjust. I think that actually hit him in the end in the ribs. He's now holding that area. It's all a bit sore. But it's all swinging after it's bouncing at the moment. So he's wandering around this terraced area, which is normally full of fast food outlets and bars and thousands of people moving this way and that. But he's got one fellow there walking the other direction. But that's it. I'm sure he's cradling a coffee there in his right hand as Naseem bowls very full on the leg stump, tickled away for a single to Afridi, who's down to our left here. Trees rocking up there in the woods. Had a nice walk up there this morning. Met quite a lot of dog walkers actually up there this morning.
Where'd you go up there? I walked around that side of the ground just last week. Where'd you
I head off into the golf course.
Okay.
And then I do a...
Oh, so you go out the back?
Yeah.
So you go onto the course and then up through the woods that way, do you?
Just past the area where you normally get COVID tested.
Okay.
If you just break through there, there's a nice series of paths actually. Naseem bowls and is forward again, hitting the bottom of the bat and fielded by the bowler at the end of the over. 49 for one. But dog walkers are a friendly bunch, and just get to meet people when we've got our own. Have a quick conversation about your particular dog and their background and so on, and then you move on.
Doggy chat.
Oh, well, it is. The dog walkers are a group all of their own. Are you a dog walker, Andy?
Well, I was when I had a dog, but
right.
now
no, you don't.
That doesn't seem appropriate.
We won't go there.
Talked about how England had been positive in the first hour, 48 for 1 at drinks after 13 overs, and the 21 first innings they've had in 2019 and 2020. That's the second highest score they've had after 13 overs, only at the Oval last year against Australia. They were 49 for 1. If they made a quicker start in that phase of their first innings.
Yasser is continuing, tossing up a leg break, which Sibley guides out to short cover.
Because I'm absolutely staggered to Dom Sibley that they've got cover point on the boundary. don't remember seeing Dom Sidley play a back foot cut shot.
No,
surely you need the fielder in to try and squeeze him. We've also got cow corner on the boundary as well to Sibley.
Yes, bowls, and that's turned away just gently into that leg side. Midon's after it, dives there and actually rolls it on to the man coming in. And they take 2 runs. 51 for 1 now.
Surprised by this. I thought...
I think he's one of those bowlers that just absolutely needs to feel protected.
I just think for the team, what's the best thing is to try and bowl as many dots as possible. You don't want easy singles to... Particularly someone like Dom Sibley, you know his method. He's more than happy to just knock it around for hours and hours.
Yeah.
You almost have to take him out of his bubble. Particularly that cover point fielder, the cow corner, I think it's for that drag down short ball that he bowls every now and again.
Yes, bowls, and no real turn there. It puts Sibley back into his crease. But I can't imagine ever not having a mid-wicket for Sibley. Clouds scudding across the ground at a furious pace. They're coming straight at us. But actually down on ground level where the players are, they won't be feeling that too bad. That's tossed up outside the off stump, driven into the offside. Half a save there at extra cover. And one more to Sibley, who goes to 19. Crawley's got 27. Burns was out for 6. Lovely low catch. Fourth slip. Afridi doing him again, and Andy, just without trawling through my notes, how many times has Afridi accounted for Burns in these matches?
Yeah, 3 and 36 balls.
This is short, and that's one he might have hit out through deep point actually, but instead he picks up a single to mid-off, which is quite deep. 3 times in 36.
He's got 20 runs in the series, average of 5.
It's just, I suppose, his worst nightmare, a left arm over, a bit of pace, moving the ball away.
I just think with that front-footed movement, Aggers, that right foot goes outside off stump when you really highlight Rory Burns. I think any bowler that kind of pitches it up early with a bit of movement either way is going to struggle.
Sun out again. Sibley works that again straight to the man. I would have someone there, and they're going to come back for 2. It's just virtually everything you think that Sibley lines up to play it through mid-wicket. It doesn't matter where it is, what length it is, even what line it is. It's just that natural flick that he has. 55 for 1, 15 overs have gone. And I think we're still on our normal bails out there, because lignum vitae bails, the famous old heavy ones, which used to be used for all sorts of things, including false teeth, I recall the last time I had a conversation about that. They're darker in colour. But these, I think, are just the normal variety, demonstrating again that actually on ground level, apart from the fact that the wind is tugging at the trousers of the slip fielders.
Who's this chap, Aggers, down here to the right, walking around the concourse with a big basket?
He's got an important job, and he's heading off in an anti-clockwise direction. He's got blue tracksuit pants on and a sort of a hoodie top, and he's walking with what could be some sort of basket or other. In comes Naseem bowling. That's going to be runs. 4, I think. Flicked very fine indeed. That one ill-directed, and Crawley able to get just enough bat on it. Send the ball flying through fine leg for 4 runs. 32 not out. That could be used for all sorts of things, couldn't it? That could be used in a supermarket, perhaps. You go around with your basket. It could be used maybe to keep grass cuttings in.
Maybe it's deliver food potentially to the media.
It could be that.
Far side and the Shane Warne stand.
Could be that.
What we're seeing already, because it's hard, isn't it, as a bowler in the wind. And Pakistan are just being a little bit two-sided here. They've bowled quite a number of balls on the pads of the England right-handers.
59 for 1. In comes Naseem, and he bowls. Oh, that keeps low, and he almost played that into his stumps. Kept very low indeed. At the bottom of the bat, the ball then ricocheted into his pads, and Crawler's a bit fortunate there. Ball bounced away into the offside, but on another day, that would have been Crawley bowled Naseem 32. It kept very low, and we saw some in the first over that he bowled after the break. Going through to the keeper is keeping low too. Bowled at a good pace. Crawley twiddles his bat, and with the sun out, Naseem's on his way again, rushing in, but the clouds are moving faster than he is, and that's outside the off stump. And there's no stroke.
I'd like to know if Naseem Shah has ever had to bowl in any kind of wind before. 17 years of age.
Yeah.
Bowled in Pakistan, played a bit in Australia as well. But I can't imagine that he's ever had to bowl in these conditions.
You don't get many windy days in Pakistan from memory.
Oh.
It's hot.
Understandably why they've been just a little bit inconsistent.
Comes Naseem, and he bowls a beautifully driven extra cover drive, that by Crawley. Again, getting deep into the shots. I like about him. His footwork takes him right out to the pitch of the ball, and he'll get 3 as the ball comes to a halt just inside the boundary edge at extra cover.
He's got himself so well set here, Crawley. 35 from 40 deliveries, and he's played with so much ease.
Yeah.
That's a 50 partnership in just 11 overs and 1 ball in 50 minutes. 35 of them to Crawley, 15 to Sibley, and they've been very effective together. It's the 8th time they've batted together in tests. They've had a century stand and now 4 other 50 stands.
It's the next one from Naseem, and Sibley stands up, plays the ball inevitably into the leg side. There's a man at mid-wicket now, trotting in and doing the fielding. And the trees on the right, on the terrace height, really being pulled in all directions by this breeze. Low grey cloud overhead at the moment. Real feature of the day. I don't think it's around for long after this, happily, but the forecast towards the end of the game doesn't look very good. Naseem on his way, and he bowls a tempting length, but Sibley ignores it. A patient character, remains on 21, and Crawley on 35, the last test match of this summer, and who knows when England will next play a test match. Those matches scheduled, of course, not least Sri Lanka in January, India February through to March, but such is the uncertainty at the moment that no one really knows for sure what's going to happen. So Joe Root made a good point yesterday when I was interviewing him about lift yourself, one last effort, because I think the players realise too that the future is so uncertain at the moment. Yasser's going to continue. He's bowling to the right-handed Crawley. In he goes, bowls to him. He's comfortably forward, or fielded at short cover.
Well, you don't feel and sense that Yasser Shah's suddenly going to rip one off a length.
No.
As a batsman, you've just got to stay very concentrated. Don't get too giddy.
So again, bounds in, get a lot of air, but Crawley waited and then drove. Gets one down to Afridi, down to our left here at deep mid-off.
Yeah, that's nice cricket. Decent bowling, but so far Crawley's been looking to hit Yasser Shah straight down the ground. Played a couple off the back foot down the ground for once. And the reason why they've got mid-off near onto the boundary for Crawley, because he danced down in the last test match and flicked Yasser Shah straight back over his head. Again, I'm amazed that that fielder is back for Dom Sibley.
Yeah, they put the deep mid-wicket up
now. I thought that'd be the case. Yeah.
The deep mid-wicket's come up.
Yeah, that's a better field.
Maybe they want him to settle in a little bit. Then goes Yasser, bouncing in, bowls. Sibley's down the wicket, driving. He's trying to hit that straight, but it ended up going to mid-on. Again, that leg side bias to his play. 63 for 1. Yasser spins himself a catch. Off he goes again, bearded. He bowls on the leg stump, and that's flicked away out into the leg side. They pick up 1 down to Naseem, down at deep square leg. Pressure on Phil Tufnell in this match, the last of the entertainment evenings. The baton has been passed to Philip.
Was he okay? Does he know?
Oh, he knows. He knows all right. He's extremely worried. You know how tough as gets. Yasser again bowls. That's pushed away into the leg side, so we've got to wind him up a little bit.
But I thought so Az's providing a bit of food tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I believe there's a barbecue night tomorrow night.
Oh, that's blustery.
Well, look at the what's the cart called with the camera? You know, the big TV cam.
There's Yasser bowling, turn into mid-wicket, and they'll trot through for 1 run, 65 for 1, 17 overs gone. That was a big blast, which we felt up here. Because if you imagine that we're at least 3 floors higher, even though we're on the first floor of the hotel, 3 floors higher than the players are down on the ground. Such is the way that this bowl is dug in. So they're not getting that full blast. They're getting enough to make it awkward. So yes, got to put some pressure on toughers. Something else I've spotted unusual about the field today.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah.
The foam boundary.
Where is it? Normally it's smothered with advertising logos, but it's gone. It's not there, and you can see where the old one was. It's left a bit of an imprint. There's Naseem Shah bowling, and again that keeps rather low, but it's coming down towards the boundary. So what we have, shock horror, we have a traditional rope, a traditional boundary rope, which is lovely. There's no advertising, nothing to be seen.
Well, you can imagine the foam advertising rolls have been flying everywhere.
Do you think that's the reason?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, it's too windy. Let's see if they're back tomorrow. I don't think the wind's going to be around tomorrow, so that'll tell us.
But the rope runs through them, so they wouldn't blow away, would they?
I'm not too sure.
Anyway, it is just a rope, a pale rope, running round the boundary. Naseem is preparing to come in again. Up he comes, over the wicket, bowls short. That's been swatted away through mid-wicket, and that'll be 4 surely. There's a man out of deep square leg, but he can't get there. Another boundary. Crawley's flying along. And England are 69 for 1.
Well, it's such a slow pitch. He tries to dig one in here, Naseem Shah. He just puts square leg on the boundary. And he whacks it in halfway, and it just it only gets to hip height. And he just kind of leans on it and just punches it with his right hand. Glorious timing once again.
Just sat up really, isn't it? There's not much pace in this.
No, it's a slow deck.
2 slips and a gully now, so a man has come out to cover. The wind is getting up more fiercely now. There's some leaves blowing across the ground. As Naseem's on his way, and he bowls, and Crawley defends this one. It's a good length on the off stump. He moves nicely into line. Plays back to the bowler. He's 45 from 47 balls. He's had 1 or 2 edgy ones through third man. He's also played some very good strokes, and just evidence. We talked about that the other day, that seemingly pointless session at the end of the last game. But actually, for Crawley, he played nicely. It shows what confidence you can pick up, albeit when the match was dead. Deep square legs coming up. 2 slips a gully, 3 in the offside, and what's happened there? The man arrived a bit late as far as Crawley was concerned, so there's apologies all round. Muhammad Abbas there, who came scuttling. He's not a particularly quick runner.
The chairman, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that Crawley, the chairman of the card school?
I still don't know that game. You have to go do some research. Shah's on his way from the far end, bowls, and Crawley's forward, plays that firmly into the gully. Where it's fielded by Masood.
I think he's trying to... You watched the way that he played that last defensive stroke. He's had a couple that gone down to third man. He almost tries to do it again. Play it late, just open the blade at the last minute. Try and run it past backward point.
Naseem walks very slowly. Back to his mark again. Crawley's over his bat. And very deliberately, Naseem wraps his fingers round the ball. And runs in now, runs in hard and bowls on off stump. Crawley's there in a beautiful position to meet it. Perfect forward defensive shot. Bear in mind that's bowled at 88 miles an hour. You don't get much time to see it.
This pitch looks like a road.
A slow road.
Looks glorious to bat on.
Sort of a road with a 30-mile limit on it.
Yeah, I guess that skiddy ball, that one that just keeps a little bit low, is the threat. You easily get one that scoots onto the pad, or you could play a stroke that you could get an inside edge back onto the stumps if it just scoots a little bit lower than expected.
Here's the last ball of the over. Naseem's on the way, bowls to Crawley, who goes again to that forward defensive position, but just pushes it a little further through with the shot. And it's fielded by Azhar Ali at mid-off. It's the end of the over, 73 for 1. We've got just under 40 minutes to go to lunch on this first day. More from Michael Vaughan, and then Isha Goa is coming in here for the first time today.
Yeah, England scoring at a good rate, over 4s. It's a really good start. 2 young players. I think Azhar Ali will be just starting to think, well, why didn't I win the toss? Won the first 2 in the series. Well, you can't win all 3. This looks to me like a very nice one for Joe Root to have won. It's playing in a way that you would expect to get a decent score. Morning, Ish.
Morning to you,
Nice
Michael.
afternoon, sorry, afternoon.
Yes,
Afternoon.
yeah, after midday, afternoon. And Yasir Shah will continue from the northern end with Sibley on strike on 22, slip in play, and a short leg as Sibley drives to mid-on off the front foot. They run, strong breeze blowing across the ground coming from the pavilion end. The trees swaying behind the pavilion from left to right. Overcast conditions, gloomy conditions once more here in Southampton as Yasir Shah is through his action, advances, struck on the pad. Sibley not given. It is now. Michael Goff, it took him a while to raise his finger, but he does eventually, and now Sibley and Crawley come together, and Sibley has decided to review with England on 73 for 2.
Yeah, he got a long way down. He danced down to try and whip it through mid-wicket.
TV umpire to
I think it's
director.
straight.
We have a player review for LBW.
Richard Illingworth.
Original decision is out.
The third
It's
umpire.
a fair delivery. If we could move on to front on spin vision, please.
So is there any bat involved? We see him advancing down the track. Doesn't look like there's
Okay,
bat
I'm just going to
involved.
need to see Ultra Edge when available, thank you.
This will confirm things.
Keep that rolling through, please. Keep it rolling through. Clear gap between bat and pad. No bat involved. We'll go to ball tracking when ready.
That looks pretty close, actually, as it strikes him on the pad.
Pitching in line, impact in line, and hitting the wickets. Can you go back to Michael on field, please? Michael, you're on camera now. You can stay with your original decision.
So good decision from Michael Goff. He gave himself the time to make it. And Dom Sibley's review is in vain because he will now have to trudge back to the pavilion. Turns in the opposite direction. And looking to be positive and attacking against the leg spinner. It's worked against him on this occasion.
Yeah, what I liked about Michael Goff there, the umpire, is that he took his time, and it's a brilliant decision because Dom Sibley did dance out of his crease. But I think Michael Goff would have just assessed right, it's hit him in line, it's not certainly going to be going over the top. And he just waited and waited, and then his finger went up. I thought that was brilliant umpiring. It's just he was trying to get down the wicket often to the spinner. Not something that I'd seen Dom Sibley do so far in his Test match career. And it was nice bowling. He just fired it in a little bit quicker. And again, that mid-wicket, having been put into mid-wicket on the one, if it had been back in cow corner like the previous order, he might have played it differently. He might have just waited in his crease. By bringing that fielder up, Dom Sibley tried to get down and force it through the gap. So good captaincy as well by Azhar Ali.
18.2 overs have been bowled in this innings. England winning the toss. Talked about Joe Root and the decision he made. Relatively straightforward on this pitch, but it's all about first innings runs as he now is at the wicket
I reckon
alongside.
Zach Crawley said to the skipper there, you could see the skipper say, well, just that was so easy out here. I'm playing so well.
Do you reckon he would have said that?
No, certainly not. He'll have said, just give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Have a look. Probably going straight on. Leg spinning, it's not spinning at a huge amount. I always used to find that with the senior player that come out to bat and you'd say, it's not doing a great deal. You guarantee the first ball that they face to do something, just give you the big stare. It's not my fault, it's just Seymour.
73 for 2 then, England. And Joe Root is marking his guard. The field, there's a slip, point, deep cover, extra, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and down at long leg and short leg in position as Yasir Shah bowls short to Root. It's a nice and easy single. He's even going to look to push the 2 as it heads out to deep cover. Off the back foot, he just punches it, Joe Root, and they'll settle for the 1. So England now 74 for 2. And
England have lost a review as well.
Yeah.
All the reds, impact.
Yeah. The only question probably for Sibley was how far down he was. He didn't advance far enough for it to be given not out. But whether the ball was going to be doing quite a bit before it got to the stumps. So England just with the 2 reviews remaining as Crawley pushes forwards and pats it back to the bowler, the front foot. Yeah, Joe Root, the first toss that he's won in 5 games, I think it is. He's just rehearsing a couple of drives at the non-striker's end as Shah tosses that one up from the northern end, and Crawley pats it back once more.
Particularly Crawley against spin, he's always looking to score. He's very active, he's looking to use his feet when he sees a little bit of flight.
He's on 45, Zach Crawley, that is punched to cover and fielded in the inner circle. No run at the end of the over then, but that was a poor delivery from Yasir Shah. Every now and then he's just dropping it short to Crawley. I don't know whether that's because he has looked to assert himself against the leg spinner, looking to advance and use his feet. There are scoring options there for the England batsman. 74 for 2 then at the end of the over. Zach Crawley on 45. Tom Sibley has just been removed for 22. LBW to Yasir Shah. Joe Root on 1 as Azhar Mahmood has come in. How are you doing, Azhar? A timely wicket for you.
It was good wicket. Pakistan need that wicket. Yeah. It's different conditions here. Very windy conditions.
You see the clouds moving quickly over the top of the ground as Naseem Shah approaches the crease now from the pavilion end, bowling to the England captain, beats the edge. Good line and length delivery outside the off stump. Looks to play at it, Joe Root. Now a smile on his face, a wry smile, as he comes down the track. Pronounced C movement off the pitch from Naseem Shah. He does hit the pitch hard.
Absolutely beauty. First up to the Joe Root.
Similar sort of style to Jofra Archer in the way he just ambles to the crease. He's kind of relaxed, isn't he, before he explodes. Here he comes again then, past the stumps, bowls outside the line of off stump once more. This time Joe Root just pulls his bat inside as it goes through to Rizwan.
You know, it's, when you got a wicket, suddenly, give you bowlers an extra bit of energy. And look at that, he was looked flat in the last over and suddenly got a wicket and bowling to the new batsman. And he's running in and hitting the pitch hard.
17 years of age. So much talent on offer for this young Pakistan quick. Running towards us now. Past the umpire, bowls to Root, who pushes to the leg side, comes through quickly for a single as Mohammad Abbas at mid-on sprints to collect the ball. And it's a well-run 1 for Joe Root, who moves to 2.
If you compare Shaheen and Naseem Shah, altogether they played 30 odd first-class games. Not much experience even in the first-class cricket, so it's just raw talent. And these conditions is tough for Naseem Shah, but he's bowling with the wind, which slightly help him.
Yeah.
If he was bowling from that end, because if you see when he runs, he's upright. He's not bending his back forward. When you're bowling against the wind, you must, run like, putting your shoulder forward and running and cutting the wind across.
2 slips and a gully in position for Zach Crawley as Naseem Shah ambles in once more. Bowls, misses the edge as Crawley goes for a big booming drive through the covers. And Naseem Shah hangs his head back. Such a strong breeze at the ground. We can see the wires moving to our right, just in front of us.
Yeah.
And strong gale as Naseem Shah returns to the top of his mark. Well, that was very close to the outside edge for Crawley as Shah sets off once more. Here he comes. Bowls Crawley turns it to mid-wicket past that man there as Mohamed Abbas dives to his right to take the ball at mid-on. They come through for another one, so England to 76 for 2, Crawley to 46. There's a youthful exuberance associated with Naseem Shah. Tiny bit of arrogance as well, I think. Just the matches that I've seen him over the last year, he really runs in with purpose. As he comes in again now to Root, who's defending to the offside. I suppose you do when you can bowl upwards of 90 miles an hour. But it's good line and length bowling at the moment from him as we get to the end of the 20th. 76 for 2.
Yeah, he's a strong lad, work hard on his fitness, look at his strong legs and glute muscle. He worked really hard. He do a lot of weight training, deadlifts and all those squats and all these things which required for fast bowlers.
How much would he be deadlifting?
I think these guys are doing 140 odd.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I spoke to Andre Russell over at the IPL as Yasir Shah will continue from the northern end. Bowls to Crawley on the back foot, punching to extra cover, no run. Slightly more back of a length, that delivery from Shah. He comes quickly through his action. And he spoke about actually not wanting to deadlift too much as Shah is through again. Slightly more loop, beats the edge of the bat. Bit of turn on offer there for Shah as it goes through to Rizwan. Crawley looking to come forward and defend.
Nice drift as well. Lovely seam position. Look at that. It's just a touch with a spin in this one.
Yasir Shah spins himself a catch before he's through again. This time back of a length once more, but flighted up. And Crawley defends on the back foot to the leg side. But yeah, Andre Russell's talking about the fact that he didn't want to have too much muscle in his legs. And just enough to be dynamic to get through his overs as Shah bowls again outside the off stump this time and Crawley leaves.
Yeah, I was not massive fan of doing a lot of deadlifts because of my back as well. So, as long as you're strong enough to go and do your job, that's more than enough.
Yeah. Crawley sets himself up, forward press on the back foot, punches out to long off. And there is a man coming off the boundary. Shaheen Shah Afridi picks the ball up as they casually come through for 1. Crawley to 47 then. England 77 for 2. One more ball left of the over. That's a bit of a drag down from Yasir Shah.
Tough conditions for Yasir Shah as well. I think England were proactive against Yasir Shah. They know they got a 3-man attack.
As the leg spinner comes through again out the front of the hand as Root is on the back foot and plays that out to deep cover. The end of the over then. Another single taken. Root 2-3. England 78 for 2. Crawley on 47 at the non-strikers end. A bit of blue sky that we can see now here in Southampton.
Luckily, Yasir went for 4 an hour, and England were proactive against Yasir Shah because they know that Pakistan got a 3-man attack, fast bowling attack, and they want fast bowlers bowling from this end.
It definitely feels like something that they've talked about, certainly in the last Test match as well. When we got those overs in at the end of the Test, there was still something to gain from playing out in the middle, and Zach Crawley in particular looking to use his feet against the leg spinner. We saw Dom Sibley, first ball, come down the track to Shah, work him through mid-wicket, and that just threw him off his length in that first over as Naseem Shah runs in once more, quickly bowls full, Root drives. I think it hits the outer part of the bat as it heads out to deep cover, almost squirts it out there as he'll come back for 2. Azhar Ali running to collect the ball and throw it in. Root to 5, 80 for 2. Talk about the wind conditions.
Yeah, I remember, whenever we play with the 3-man attack and teams come up with Yasir, he has to bowl a lot of overs and they come and attack Yasir Shah, and then the captain has to bring back his fast bowler from that end. So.
Shah past the umpire. Ball short to Root. He looked uncomfortable there, as he looks to almost pull it to the leg side, but brings his bat inside. It's almost like a jab in the end, and it hits him on the gloves.
I think Joe Root was in two minds. First he thought he will leave it, and then he tried to play it because it wasn't bounced enough to go over his shoulder height.
I think we might see a few more of these, Azhar.
Yeah.
3 slips in position for the England captain. So he taps his bat down now. Still in his crease, bat hovering above the stumps as Shah bowls to Root. This time comfortable on the back foot, playing it to point. Good length delivery. Maybe a little bit back of a length. Lovely line on the top of off.
Naseem Shah is not the taller bowler, he's a skitty type of customer. When he banged the ball hard on the pitch, sometimes it gets extra bit of bounce, or sometimes, it skids on to the batsman. So it's very difficult for the batsman to judge his length and leave the ball.
Yasir Shah coming into third slip for Joe Root. So 3 slips in the gully in position as Naseem is in. Bowls edged, falls in front of Yasir Shah. In fact, it just catches the bottom of his hand as it comes through. But he's got enough on it for it not to go to the boundary. And Root will pick up a single, goes to 681 for 2. Slightly fuller and making him play. He had to play at that one, angled into the top of off.
But the best thing was this, Joe Root just played so late, he didn't go onto the ball. That's why he bounces in front of Yasir Shah.
Open stance from Zach Crawley. Now shuffles in front of Millen off as he turns that around the corner down to fine leg. Straying in line there, Naseem Shah, but angling in. And a smile on his face as he manages to get that away. Zach Crawley moves to 48, 82 for 2. Andy?
Yasir Shah so far, as you said, 6 overs for 24. The first 4 overs went for 21, 6, 6, 6 and 3. Only 1 boundary in that. He only managed 10 dot balls out of 24 deliveries in those first 4 overs. The last 2, 8 dots and a wicket and just 3 singles.
But that's it, isn't it? Only the 1 boundary, but he had a deep cover and 2 men out on the leg side boundary pretty much straight away when he came into the attack as Naseem Shah bowls to Root, who covers the top of off, solidly defends back down the pitch. At the end of the over then, England 82 for 2, Crawley on 48, Root on 6. A few more words from you, Azhar, and then it will be Atif Nawaz.
Yeah, what you're saying, Yasir put the fielder back because he wants to get settled into his line and length and allow England to get those quick singles, which Andy was talking about. And now he's settling down and he's bowling in a good area. Suddenly, when you got a wicket and you come on top as well. A lot more attacking field now because mid-wicket is up. So, and that's a good field.
Yasir Shah in now to Zach Crawley, just pushes forward and drives nicely to extra cover for no run. Good afternoon, Azhar. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very, very well, thank you.
Good,
very well.
Good.
Nice for Pakistan to get that second wicket just as England were kind of threatening to run away with it, really, and put on a big score and very quickly. Batted really well this morning of England as in comes Yasir Shah once again. Flights one up and it's been driven just wide of that fielder extra cover. It'll go out into the deep and they'll take a single. Crawley now on to 48, not out. 49, I beg your pardon. One away from that 50. He's batted really well this morning, hasn't he?
Yeah, he batted really well. Look at the shots he played, on the front foot, back foot, using crease. And one thing I saw against Shaheen Shah Afridi was standing on the leg stump, and now against Naseem Shah is standing on the middle stump. So he's a really good thinking cricketer.
Yeah, he's being very focused this morning. Very impressive, Zach Crawley, picking up where he left off in that second test match. As Yasir in now to Joe Root. Again, very full, and there's a big appeal for LBW. Big appeal from Yasir. Not much support from the fielders in that appeal as the ball struck the pad. He's always quite exuberant with his appeals. That countdown goes down. No, there's no thought of an appeal from the Pakistani fielders. Big smiles from Yasir. 83 for 2. It's a whole tradition of strong appeals from Pakistani spinners. Pitches in line and a big thick inside edge there.
That's why. Otherwise, yeah.
In comes Yasir Shah once again. He's got a slip and a short leg in place. Full delivery and just blocked on the front foot by Joe Root. No run.
Otherwise, Rizwan was the first one to say, yeah, that's it out. Take it.
He's joined the tradition of very noisy wicketkeepers. Who were the noisiest wicketkeepers when you were playing us? So tell me after this delivery as in comes Yasir Shah again. Just back of length and prodded out to point by Root for no run.
Moin Khan, definitely Moin Khan.
Yeah, Shaba Saki. Idhar ball karna yaar. Bowled here. Why are you bowling wide?
Yasir Shah in once again. Flights one up, Fuller, and this time driven out to the man sweeping deep in the covers for an easy single, agreed single for Joe Root. He moves on to 7. That's the end of the 23rd over. England 84 for 2, going at a really good rate here, as I thought, scoring at a very, very quick rate today.
Yeah, they batted really well. They put pressure on Pakistan, especially Yasir Shah. And then Pakistan has to do something, They need to control the game. So they need to bowl a bit more maiden overs. It's difficult condition, sitting here. You can see the wind is blowing and it's not easy for the bowlers. And especially when you have not much experience playing first-class cricket, if Shaheen and Naseem altogether they played 30-odd first-class games, so it's not enough experience to handle these type of conditions.
Yes, well, Shaheen Afridi is going to come in from the other side now. He gets to bowl with the wind for the first time today. And just as we're getting ready to see him bowl, I'm curious, Andy, maybe you can look this up for us. How often, what are the sort of the highest scores England have scored in the first session of a Test match? Because this strikes me as on the upper end of that. We've still got 15 minutes to go till lunch as well, so you expect them to get close to that 100 mark. I can't imagine it's happened too often. In comes Shaheen now. He's got 2 slips and a gully in place. He comes in and bowls and just been flicked off his hips nicely by Joe Root to that fielder, a deep backward square leg. They take a single.
Well, their 50 was their second quickest first innings 50 of the last 2 years. But I'll delve around for highest first session scores. No maidens as yet in the first 23 overs. Well, now 24, which I would imagine is pretty rare. I'll see if I can find anything on that as well.
Yeah.
Got to tighten the screws a little bit, Pakistan. They'd love to get one more wicket just before lunch, just to even things up, because England very much on top with a set batsman on strike as well. Zach Crawley, 49 from 63 deliveries. He'll be eyeing up the gaps in the field, looking for that one to get him to a second consecutive 50. As Shaheen runs in and bowls just a wide one outside the off stump, comfortably left alone by the batsman. Through to the keeper, no run. 85 for 2, the score remains. Talk us through 49, Azhar. We've heard about 99 a lot, the nervous 90s and getting to 99. Talk us through 49. How much pressure is on 49?
Every batsman has a different mindset, and some people never. Yunus Khan was never nervous in 90. He just goes into 90, and he's going to get quick 100. So everyone is different. A lot of people in 90, the struggle and thinking about the milestone.
Yeah, he's closing in on one here. Zach Crawley is in, comes Shaheen Shah Afridi again, wide outside the off stump, well wide, comfortably left alone, and those deep slips are still on the keeper, and everybody seems very deep. We saw a chance of Naseem Shah a couple of overs ago, which didn't quite carry to full slip. But why do Pakistan keep their slips so deep, Azhar?
They're always the problem, like when I was there, we said to Safi, keeper set everyone, like first slip, second slip, they set it. So sometimes, if you're catching the ball above waist height, that's where you'd see. You need to find the right balance, the bounce of the pitch. If your keeper is catching the ball around waist height.
Indeed, as in comes Shaheen Shah Afridi. Better line that time, bit closer to the batsman, still comfortably left alone, through to the keeper for no run.
See, this one is fine, if your ball is bouncing that much. If your ball is staying low, then you need to move up a little bit, So last, you were saying Joe Root, because Joe Root played the ball so late and he didn't go to the ball, and that's why it bounced in front of Yasir.
Oh, Yasir Shah, beg your pardon. Yeah, Shahan's moved out to gully now. As Shaheen, nice and still at the top of his run. He always takes a split second just to compose himself. He runs in now and bowls another wide one just outside the off stump. Just trying to tease that shot, that drive. But Crawley, picture of concentration, lets it go by. 85 for 2, the score remains. The noise has picked up a little bit more from the Pakistanis. It was very quiet, as we noted earlier, but they're trying to get that noise. You can hear bits of it in the background, I'm sure. There we go. If we get some clean sound, I might even tell you what it means. 85 for 2. One delivery to come in this Shaheen over. It's his 6th and his first from the opposite end. He comes in and bowls, and again, good line just outside the off stump, but Zach Crawley measures it, lets it go by, and that's the end of the 24th over. 85 for 2. And England now with an eye on lunch, just want to make it through there nice and calmly without too much stress.
Yeah, if Pakistan go another wicket here, then we can say, it's an even session. Otherwise, England on top in this session. Purely because they were proactive, they played make some good decision against, especially Yasir Shah. We saw even Sibley was coming down the wicket from the first ball, playing against the spin. So it's really good to see.
Absolutely, and some aggressive captaincy from Azhar Ali as well, getting Yasir Shah in for the 11th over of the innings, before even Naseem Shah.
Yeah, he has to bring Yasir Shah from this end, because it's a strong wind. Naseem Shah, if you see, he runs very straight. If he bowl from this end, it definitely will struggle.
He's got a slip and a short leg in place, a little bit of protection, a deep backward square. But other than that, encouraging the aggressive shot here, Yasir Shah. He's got Joe Root to bowl at. 8 of 16 for Joe Root. In comes Yasir. Flights one in nice and full, and it's just been pushed out defensively into the covers for no run.
See, I like this field. There's no man on the boundary of the offside. Everyone's up. So if you want to go over the top, fair enough. 10 minutes to go to the lunch, and that's the proper fielding.
In comes Yasir once again, flights one out just outside the off stump, and it just beats that tickle. He tried to cut it through backward point, missed it altogether, went through to the keeper, and Pakistan perilously close to that third wicket. A bit more flight, a bit of turn away as well, and just beat that bottom edge through to the keeper. In comes Yasir once again, more flight given, this time driven a bit more comfortably to that deep set fielder at point, no run.
Yeah, Joe would need to be careful. Yasir got him in first test match as well, like in similar fashion. So he bowls wicket to wicket a bit quicker.
It's a bit of variable bounce as well.
Too close to cut.
In comes Yasir Shah, just angling it in and works that away to that short leg fielder on the bounce. No run. Bit of pressure building here with Yasir Shah. Those close fielders creating a little bit of an atmosphere of an ambience of threat. A lot of noise as well. Yasir varying up his line, his length, and he comes once again. More flight, and this time Joe Root nice and forward in defence. Soft hands, just trickles to short leg. No run.
One more ball, Andy. This might be the first ever
first maiden.
Maiden, yeah.
Let's see what happens. It's all happening here at Southampton. Big winds going across the ground as in comes Yasir Shah, flights another one out just outside the off stump, and once again Joe Root tried to tickle that through third man, missed it altogether, and just went through to the keeper. A little bit of excitement there for Pakistan. Variable bounce from Yasir Shah, and crucially the first maiden of the day ends with a gorgeous delivery, just drifting in, turning away sharply and beating the bottom edge of the bat. Rizwan took it very cleanly as well, and yes, the first maiden over.
Look at how close this was. Like it's because of the bounce. Sometimes it bounces, sometimes it goes straight. So need to be careful. 8 minutes to go.
8 minutes to go to lunch. They're counting down. They're counting down. We're counting down on their behalf. 85 for 2. England have batted superbly, particularly Zach Crawley, who's on strike. 49 not out of 68 deliveries. He's got Shaheen Shah, Afridi to contend with. He runs in and bowls wide outside the off stump again in that channel. Big encouragement. Left alone by Crawley. He's going to be patient now.
Yeah, good to see from Shaheen. He's patient. Last 4 or 5 deliveries, he was pitching the ball in the same area, and Crawley played really well. He's leaving everything.
He's testing his patience, Shaheen. It's a game of cat and mouse here. If you want your 50, you're going to have to go after a wide one. That's what Shaheen's trying to say. The 2 slips in place. You can see the trouser legs of the slip fielders just fluttering away in that breeze. It's unrelenting today. In comes Shaheen Afridi once again, wide outside the off stump, driven this time, but only as far as extra cover. No run scored.
Interesting thing, see, because the wind is really strong that side, so maybe Shaheen is struggling to bring the ball back into the Crawley because it's a really strong wind. And that's why we saw, holding his line and taking the ball away from Crawley.
Yeah, he's been persistent on that delivery going across the batsman, but we haven't seen the one come back in just yet. Not from this angle. And we see slightly open stance as well from Zach Crawley now as Shaheen Afridi runs in, bowls another wide one just outside the off stump.
Just stay patient, just keep bowling there. So he's looking for another run to get his milestone 50, and you just hang in there, just bowl there, make him play.
Upping the pressure, Pakistan, a little bit, just creating a little bit more anxiety for Zach Crawley. He's been on that 49 mark for a few deliveries now. He's faced up 71, batted it superbly today, deserves that 50 as well. But Pakistan not going to make it easy. That deep backward square leg is still there. 2 slips, kind of deep set, gully fielder. And Shaheen Afridi running in and bowls another one just in that channel outside the off stump. Unrelenting Shaheen. He's not going to make it easy. And don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're 2 deliveries away from 2 consecutive maidens today, Andy.
Unbelievable. Far too much action so far. Yes, so 8 leave alones in the last 9 balls from Shaheen to Crawley.
Just one full one that he had a little drive at.
Let's see who's the more patience.
Yeah.
Got more patience.
Will Shaheen stray first, or will Crawley go after one? Still with that open stance, with his body sort of pointing to mid-on, as in comes Shaheen Afridi wide outside the off stump, and he went for it that time. Big booming drive from Zach Crawley. He missed it. Lucky for him, but Shaheen Shah with the moral victory there, drawing that shot, consistent with that line. As you say, Azhar, the patience paying off.
Yeah, patience is the key. See, the shiny side was inside and went away from Crawley. And we know Crawley likes to play the shot. He's a run-scoring batsman. If you keep him quiet for a while, he will make mistake. And Shaheen trying to do that.
Very consistent from Shaheen, and a relapse in concentration there from Zach Crawley. He takes his guard and in runs Shaheen Afridi once again. Wide outside the off stump, this time left alone by Crawley. And the game of cat and mouse continues. 26 overs gone, 85 for 2. If you're just joining us, earlier today, England won the toss and decided to bat first for the first time in this test series. It's the final test of the summer. A lot to play for, even though England 1-0 up. Pakistan can't win the series, but they haven't lost a series to England in 10 years. So
10 years or more than that?
Well, 2010 was the last time Pakistan lost a series to England, so they'll be very keen to protect that record.
Yeah, and, they've been playing really well since twice. Last 2 series when Pakistan were here, they played really good cricket, quality cricket.
We'll lament that loss in that first test match. There's a slip and a short leg still in place as Yasir Shah comes in now and bowls to Joe Root, and slightly back of a length and push to that short extra cover fielder.
2 maidens
in a row, yeah.
And 18 dot balls. Now Crawley was on 45 from 50. Now is on 49 from 74.
Just slowing things down a little bit, Pakistan, as Yasir Shah in once again with a fuller delivery, driven nicely, but again that extra cover fielder, he's very, very busy over there in the covers. He's getting a lot of work. Yasir won't be too worried about seeing that drive come out, will he, Azhar?
No, he wants to bowl in this line.
In comes Yasir once again, more flight given, full and driven again to the same fielder, extra cover.
Brilliant stuff, Shan Masood.
Yeah, a lot of energy there.
One of the better fielder in Pakistan lineup. Shan Masood worked hard on his fitness as well.
85 for 2. And in comes Yasir Shah once again. More flight just outside the off stump, turning away sharply and left alone by Joe Root. Yes, Shan Masood, I had a chat with some of the Pakistani cricketers. Shan was the only one when I asked him what he does in his spare time, he said goes to the gym. So that was nice to hear. In comes Yasir Shah once again, full delivery, and forward in defence is Root. No run. Wind is picking up, Azhar.
Yeah, strong. Come on, Yasir, bowl one quickly. Have another over and see, who got more patience. Crawley or Shaheen.
We should be able to get one more over in. It's a minute to go. As in comes Yasir Shah again, just angling that down the leg side. It's been flicked away by Joe Root, that fielder at deep backward square leg. It's wide of him, so they come back for an easy 2, and that completes the over. 2 runs there, and Joe Root moves on to 10. England 87 for 2 after 27 overs, and we will get 1 more over before lunch. It's been a good session for England. They'll be keen to just block out this attack for 1 more over. Bit of a shrug of the shoulders there from Joe Root and a fist bump.
Last 20 minutes was really good for Pakistan. Run rate was 4 an hour, and now you can see 3.2, which is really good. That shows, they bowled with more controlled, disciplined line and length.
Indeed, Shaheen at the top of his run. And in he comes and bowls. And wide outside the off stump, once more left alone. And a lot of noise there. We're hearing noise. I heard from Shan Masood that Safi, as I said earlier, Rizzi, I beg your pardon, Mohammad Rizwan is one of the noisiest fielders in the team, and they really love him. You can read more about my interviews on the BBC Sport website, and we'll play the Shan Masood interview a little bit later on in the game. Some wonderful insights. Very deep character, Shan Masood. Told me about his favourite books and films, and
PlayStation.
Yeah, he mentioned that. He mentioned a little bit of video game action. It was the book recommendations. You don't often hear those from Pakistani cricketers. That was quite nice. In comes Shaheen Shah Afridi once again. Just wide outside the off stump, pushed defensively to point by Crawley for no run.
What was the book? You've forgotten.
No, you know what? I don't want to give it away. I want people to go over and listen to the interview.
Okay.
Listen closely, people.
You can tell me. You can tell me.
Of course. No secrets with you, Azerbai. Not until you become the batting coach of England. The bowling coach, I beg your pardon. 87 for 2. Oh, consultant, really, I should say.
Consultant, yeah.
Didn't mean to replace John Lewis there. 4 deliveries to come before lunch. In comes Shaheen Shah Afridi once again. Wide outside the off stump, and Crawley just having a little push at that as it beat him outside the off stump through to the keeper. A bit of nerves from Crawley. He's got 3 balls to go to lunch. He'll want to get that 50, and before he goes in there, before that long gap. And of course, to the uninitiated, we should say, it was announced in the gap between the second and third test that Azhar Mahmood will be joining England's T20 side as a bowling consultant in this upcoming series. And we wish you the very best with that, Azhar.
Thank you very much. I need that luck. As you know, my Twitter went crazy.
Yeah,
a lot of Pakistani fans.
Yeah, we had a lot of opinions for sure. In comes Shaheen Shah Afridi once again, wide outside the off stump and left alone by Crawley. A bit more patient. It's better to be 49 not out at lunchtime, isn't it, than 49 and at lunch wondering why you played at 1.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Shaheen Shah Afridi. His growth as a cricketer, leader of this attack, and ball with great consistency and control. Everybody talk about a pass, but look at this test series. He pulled on that area with pace, bounce, and swing and seam, and don't give you anything.
It's been very consistent in that area. Shaheen Shah Afridi, as he comes in once again and bowls again, just as Azhar says, very consistent on that line again, left alone by Crawley, who's just got 1 more ball to negotiate until lunch. 87 for 2. England will have taken that if you offered that them at the start of the day, I would imagine.
Come round the stumps, change Shah Afridi, bowl with a different angle, just change the angle,
just for 1 delivery.
There's partnership 14 and 9.5 overs. The Sibley-Crawley partnership was 61 and 13.5. So it highlights how well Pakistan have pulled it back in the last 40 minutes or so.
They've recovered well, Pakistan. They've been a bit more consistent, and an extra slip has come in for that last ball, so he hasn't gone round the wicket, but a bit more attacking for this last delivery before lunch to Zach Crawley. He's batted so well. He's on 49 not out of 79 deliveries. In comes Shaheen Shah Afridi. He bowls wide outside the off stump. It's been driven nicely. He's going away to that boundary at long off. It's going to get there. There's 2 fielders in pursuit. It's a very slow outfield, but the ball gets there. And Zach Crawley, on the stroke of lunch, gets himself to 50. 53 of 80 deliveries. He raises his bat, applauded by his teammates. Excellent knock that, and a great session for England as well. 91 for 2 after 28 overs. They've gone at 3.25. What an excellent session it was for them, and a great punctuation mark with that boundary. Andy?
Yeah, Crawley's half century is his 4th in Test cricket. You say 80 deliveries. That was his 7th 4. And it's his 4th 50 in Test cricket, and he's still not reached the age of 23 yet. Only 10 other England players have 4 or more 50s by the age of 23, and it is an illustrious list in reverse chronological order. Ollie Pope, Joe Root, Alistair Cook, Mike Atherton, David Gower, Ian Botham, Alan Knott, Colin Cowdrey, Dennis Compton and Len Hutton. So Zach Crawley has added himself to that list. And maybe for some thoughts, a man who scored 4 half-centuries plus scores, including 3 centuries before the age of 22, Azhar Mahmood.
Absolutely. Look at that. All these stats are so. England session ready, 91 for 2 at lunch there. Rory Burns earlier was dismissed by Shaheen Shah. Afridi caught Shan Masood for 6. Dom Sibley 22. He was LBW to Yasser Shah. Reviewed the decision as well, and that cost England a review. And of course, since then, England have batted really well, a bit more patiently. Joe Root 10 not out of his 28 deliveries, and Zach Crawley reaching his 50 on the stroke of lunch, 53 from 80 deliveries. A great start to this Test match for England. I'm going to make way for Jonathan Agnew shortly, but up until then, Azhar, maybe you can reflect on Pakistan's stance on that session. Where did they go slightly wrong?
No, I think they struggled early on because of the tough condition here, windy conditions, and I thought they pulled it really well in the end. Got 40-odd runs in 10 overs. That was really good effort from them. And Crawley played some magnificent shot. His balance was good, and he liked to get on top of the bowlers. And he played some magnificent shot and finished with a session with extraordinary shot through mid-off.
That wind's a problem, isn't it? I'm not sure how much wind they're used to bowling in, especially when you're only 17. You don't get much in Islamabad, do you?
No, not much, because I mentioned, Shaheen Shah, Afridi and Naseem Shah played 30 first class between them. It's always tough, and especially in these conditions. And I thought England were proactive, and they played really well against Yasser Shah, put pressure on Yasser, and because they understand Pakistan had a 3-man attack, fast bowling attack, and they put pressure on them. And in the end, it was a timely wicket from Yasser Shah against Sibley, and put Pakistan back into this game.
Right, Azhar, you're going to enjoy your lunch, whatever it may be today. It's pretty grey out there, still breezy, but at least we've had an uninterrupted session there. England 91 for 2, Crawley 53, Root on 10, the men up, Burns for 6 and Sibley for 22.